All right, I guess let's do this. What's going on? How's everybody doing tonight? What's up? We got James, we got Derek, we got Bailey here. Though Bailey's lurking, but we're going to make Bailey not lurk. What's happening, folks? How's everybody doing tonight? Let me kill this music and let's get this MFer rolling. All right. This is our discussion of the Matrix Resurrections. Like many, I was very excited for this to come out, and we'll talk about not just the plot of the movie, some of the more maybe synchros that you find in this, some of the connections to the old school stuff, and maybe predictions on whether there's a Matrix 5. We're going to do all the rest of this and talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, but let's get to you guys as I find ourselves a nice Matrix backdrop to get going. Let's go. Let's start with James. What's up, James? Welcome to the joint. Happy holidays to all you guys. And let's talk about this. But first, let's talk about you. Who are you, James? What's up, brother?
Well, I'm good. I'm just glad to be here. I'm more into the paranormal in terms of ghosts and hauntings and all of that. But the thing I'm discovering is so much of the paranormal in general is all connected. And so there can be a lot of different explanations for all those things. And so my interest in movies like this is definitely part of that as well. In fiction, I think fiction is a big part of, you can learn a lot from it. So, but I have my own podcast, Salsido Paranormal. And so yeah, I just cover a lot of true ghost stories and other paranormal topics there.
Amen to that. Welcome to the thing, man. We're thank you guys for agreeing to be part of this in advance, and then doing your homework and watching the movie and being here to talk about it. Appreciate it very much. Let's go to Derek. Derek the Nightstocker. What's up, brother? Who are you, and what's up? What's going on?
I'm Derek the Nightstocker. I don't have a podcast or anything, but you may know me from calling into your favorite conspiracy or paranormal show. I don't know. I just like all things weird, and especially when it meets like the paranormal, when it meets pop culture and stuff. So where esoterica and the occult and necromanticism kind of merges with pop culture and everything pulp, So this is kind of right up my alley, Mike. I'm excited that we get to do this tonight. The Matrix too is one of my favorites.
Yeah, same here, definitely. All right, so, and Bailey's here lurking. I'm not going to twist your arm, Bailey, but Bailey's been a friend of the show, Troubled Minds, for a very, very long time. And if you want to talk, you're more than welcome. If you want to lurk, you're more than welcome. I don't want to twist your arm and make this a weird thing for you. So you tell me. Okay.
Okay.
I think that's
Hey.
Echo's back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Bailey. I'll probably talk if anyone has like questions about computer stuff, anything like that. I'm kind of like the resident expert on that, I guess. But otherwise, I'll probably just remain pretty quiet.
Okay.
Glad to have you, Bailey.
Yeah, exactly. Glad to have you here, 100%. And this is why we do it. So it's not just like this, right? So we did the last one. It was myself. We did Midnight Mass. We did 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And we did it with myself, Derek, and James here, and Rohan popped in for the second one as well. So this is why we want to do these things, to kind of stay on top of what's happening and be able to discuss them as they come out, to give you guys some extra conversation that goes along with it. However, and additionally, invite you to be a part of this. That's the whole point of doing this, is to get you guys on that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to be on a podcast, but you got things to say. Maybe you're like the ultimate Matrix fan, or the ultimate what was the last time we did? Midnight Mass fan, whatever, right? Maybe you want to be able to jump in here and just talk, and that's why we do it in this format, to kind of invite you, include you, and you guys know I'm not scared of that because we have got an amazing bunch of people being part of this. So there you go. Let's do it. So let's start with let's go back to James. Now I know we'll start this way, and then we'll get into the plot of this new movie, Matrix Resurrections. And I'm going to reiterate over and over and over again. Heavy spoilers. I dropped it in all the things. It's all over the damn place. So if you got this far, and
we got spoilies
serious spoilies coming up. So again, don't blame me, right? Don't blame me for this. You literally skipped past this important, critical point. I'm waving my arms right now on the thing. No, spoiler alert. All right. So James, regarding the old Matrix movies, like, is this up there in like your sci-fi top movie type sort of situation? And how excited were you when you heard this was coming out?
You know, the Matrix in general. When I was a kid, well, not a kid. I mean, teenager. I saw them. It was amazing, and I did like them. But I think I've come to like them more over time. So when this new one was announced and everything, I was really looking forward to seeing this. And I just going to mention this now. I was born legally blind, and I don't watch movies that much anymore like I used to because my vision has been changing. So I really don't watch a lot of movies or TV. But when this one was announced, I decided I had to watch this one. And then when I learned of this podcast happening, I volunteered because I love talking about all this with everybody. So, yeah, I was definitely looking forward to seeing what they would do.
Right on. Derek, same question.
Yeah, same. I know, like, the zeitgeist as a whole was pretty skeptical. I feel like if you were taking a pulse of the nation, they were like, oh, here we go. This is just another cash grab reboot. Just every company is trying to mine all their IP for just anything they can make a buck off of. And hopefully this wasn't the same thing. But, like, for me, like, I don't think it can be understated how important the Matrix is, just like as how we think as a collective. It changed the paradigm as far as just like in the conspiracy weird world. The idea of like, are we living in a simulation? It's everywhere. It's like it's very prevalent. Like, and we can think that movie. Like we said this before, but in 500 years or in 1,000 years, if there is an actual like simulation theory religion, we're going to point to the Matrix as being like this point where the culture shifted to this idea that maybe this is possible. You know. But as just like a movie fan, it's unbelievable. Like the first Matrix, especially, is just so good, and it changed the game for everything. Like for like the fighting style, like the bullet time and everything, which they comment on in the movie and stuff. This new one, but like everything was just paradigm shifting, you know. And people critique the second two, but I'll go for to bat for those any day. Like I rewatch these movies constantly. I'm a massive fan. Like the fighting style, especially the way they do like all of the wire fighting and everything. I think it holds up so well even today, and I think it's just the best. So going in, the expectations were high in my mind. It's like when you made the first one, you like completely shifted all of our thoughts in order to make a reboot like this, or to like a remake or a sequel. You have to I was hoping that they came with a new idea that's like as good as the first one. That's obviously very, very hard. It's a tough ask, but that was where my head was at going in. I was happy, but expectations were high. Short answer. Sorry.
No, you're fine. we talk, man. That's what we do. You're good. It's totally good. No, agreed 100%. Bailey, thoughts on this? I know you're a big Matrix fan because we've talked about this in the past, but how big? Like, were you like riding your hopes on making it a good year sort of situation with this movie, or were you like, oh shit, here we go again?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of here we go again. I only liked the first one.
Oh, really?
If we're being honest.
Yeah. You're not alone.
I think the first one was amazing, but my hope was that this one kind of went back more to the first one.
Yeah, there were rumors of that. There were rumors that they were just gonna ignore the second two and have it be like a rebooted Matrix from the first one, which I don't know, which would have been tough for me because I like the second two, and like the second two is what's tied in with the video games, which is maybe my my favorite video game of all time, like the Enter the Matrix and Path of Neo. Again, with like the same fighting style and bullet time and everything. It's just like I wanted to spend more time in this world, so I'm thankful this movie exists just for that alone. You know, and we can get into the rest of it, I guess.
Yeah, the crazy part about this is so again, heavy spoilers. We're going to get into the plot of this movie right now. So again, this is the second time I'm saying this. So if I'm spoiling this movie for you, it's your own damn fault at this point, times 3 or 5 now.
Yeah.
So the thing is this, right? This is a whole reboot of the Matrix. It's interesting that when you say like a Spider-Man reboot or like a Marvel or some Superman reboot, it's a new actor, it's a new thing, it's a new this, Batman, whatever, right? But interestingly, that becomes like a multiverse type of reboot. But in this sense, I mean, we're talking about the freaking Matrix. And so you would expect in some capacity that, even in the old movies, they talked about multiple Matrix. In that Neo, in the one, he wasn't the first one, right? He was a replication of a previous one from other versions of the Matrix. They hint at it in the Merovingian when was it part 2 or part 3? I can't remember, where they had like the werewolves and all the rest of that shit. Where they're like, old code remnant of previous Matrixes that weren't purged from the source code itself. And so, so you get the feeling that when the main story we know with Neo and Trinity and that whole bit in the older movies is that it could have been very much like we describe our own personal reality and existence in this world, whatever the hell this is. I mean, the real world is that how many times have we been through this, right? And so the cool thing is when they do, and this is a true reboot in that they're different. The people are different, and we'll get to that in a sec. But it's kind of exciting in that when I first saw the beginning of this, I was stoked. I was like, oh, shit, here we go. This is going to be hot, right? And then we'll get into what I thought at the end, near the end. But once you start to learn, okay, it is the Matrix itself, so you expect a different version of the Matrix because it's a computer program. And so it's easy to just fire up a new server or a new computer or whatever it is and just, bam, load Matrix 10.0, right? So that's pretty hot to me. But this one starts out, let's see, let me read just the beginning of this. This is from Wikipedia, and I just pulled this up just as a rough outline. We'll fill in the blanks here. But heavy spoiler alert for like the 10th time. Here we go.
Just first on that last point you made about like how the last one ended. Like, so the architect in I think it's like the third one where he actually explains like the different iterations of the Matrix, like where he says like that he's like the 7th one or whatever. Like, he doesn't really say, from my memory, he doesn't really say like if those matrices ended the same way this one did. So like sometimes he makes it seem like the first version of the Matrix, it was like too perfect, and humans like rejected that perfectness. Like they knew it was a Matrix because it was too perfect, so they had to start again. So it almost seems kind of like an Anunnaki style, just we have to start over, kind of wipe the slate clean. We'll make a new version of it, But so you leave the third movie, spoiler alert for the first trilogy, but thinking that Neo had his Jesus moment or whatever, sacrifice himself, and that's the end of like the reincarnation of the Matrixes, So going into this movie, I'm thinking, all right, well, did we win or not? Like, how is it a new? Shouldn't the cycle be over? Like, didn't they win? Like, what's going to happen? Like, this is probably a new version of the Matrix, but what does that mean for what we just experienced in the first three? Like, what does that mean for Neo? Like. No, go ahead. Sorry. No,
you're good. Perfect. That's why we do this together, so we can fill in some of the stuff that needs to be said here. So okay, so it begins with like a completely new thing. We've got Mr. Anderson, right? We got Neo himself. But as you see in all the trailers that you see on the screen right now with the long hair, he's got the beard. He doesn't look like the Neo of old. He looks like Neo now, like you would expect.
It's like John Wick.
Exactly. Yeah, like exactly. And as you would expect Keanu Reeves to have aged naturally from then to now, right? Which is fine. However, it starts strangely in that Neo himself, Mr. Anderson, Thomas Anderson is his name in the flick, he actually is the coder of a video game of the old Matrix that we're aware of. So they're taking the stance that the Matrix movies we saw were an iteration of a video game that was programmed by Mr. Anderson to, well, make money. And it was nothing more than that. And he's sitting there as this, it starts with him as a coder of this video game of the Matrix itself. And he's world famous. He's a world famous video game coder, which again, by the way, is suspicious as hell, right? To start, you're like, I know. Like, wait, what? Like, what? Come on. Here we are, right?
I mean, and like to just like mirror a real life story just off the bat, like somebody in real life just created a game within a game. They created that computer inside Minecraft that you can actually play video games on. So again, like this simulation inside of a simulation inside of a simulation idea. It's like, where is base reality? Like to quote the show from the other night. But like the very first scene is like a shot for shot kind of reboot of the first scene of the Matrix movie. It's like we get this girl who looks like Trinity, like being like arrested by the police and stuff, and we have like this different Mr. Smith and these different agents coming in, but being narrated by this character Bugs with this blue hair or whatever. Since she knows the story of Trinity, she knows. So it's like a new version of the Matrix, but somebody is like an audience avatar aware of like, oh look, this isn't how it happened. This isn't the actual story of how it happened. Which is interesting and kind of puts you in this surreal like what's going on here? Like where are we? Like right off the jump,
Exactly right. So what was that code situation going on? So they're in this. It's like an exact remake of that Trinity scene with the
modal, they call it. Yeah.
Oh, as a modal, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's like the simulation that they call it. Yeah, a modal.
Yeah, which is like a got a comment on that, Bailey? You know what a modal is? MODAL.
Yeah. Is that a Matrix term or is that a real term?
You know when you go to a website and it pops up an ad on you and you have to close the ad to read the rest of the page?
Yeah.
Those pop-ups are called modals.
Okay.
So does it fit here in the Matrix? Or
A modal is like a distinguished interface from another one. So like a separate thing that pulls you away from something else.
Oh, so in this case, you're saying it's like a simulation inside the simulation would be like accurate for that?
I think that's what they were trying to get at.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So you start off in this simulation of like inside of a simulation, this modal, and you meet like this different version of Agent Smith and this different version of Trinity or whatever, and then this Bugs character being like talking to this other character, this seeming human, we think. But what's going on here? Why is it the same, but why is it a little bit different? Like what are the agents running? Are the agents running some kind of test simulation? Like why is it different? And then it ends up being this trap here for Bugs.
Yeah, and so James, take on this here as it began.
Yeah, that was really interesting that they did that. I also just want to point out they did update the technology in the movie overall, which is really interesting. The way they had what they call the operator, the one that puts everyone inside a matrix or a training program. The one that's running, like, connects everything, basically. He was able to be there almost like in a hologram form with the character Bugs watching this, because they were looking back and forth at each other.
Yeah, that was cool.
So there are things like that made the movie interesting, and that they didn't stick with the way technology worked from the original movies. They updated it, which I'm glad they did, because I don't know how... I think it would have been awkward if they hadn't updated it. So, but yeah, even just talking about my vision again, I knew once they zoomed in on the girl in the scene that was Trinity in the earlier movies, that's surprising when it wasn't her, and then when things started going in a different way, that was interesting, and I like that entrance to the movie a lot in that way.
Yeah, it definitely kind of throws your mind into a different space, right? Like you're kind of in that spot. You're like, okay, some shit is the same, but the shit is not the same, right? Like, okay, exactly. Like there's the reiteration of something happening, which again, right, the dream within a dream sort of situation, back to like Inception, right? Except it's the program within a program. It's so imagine
and
go ahead.
And it's very meta. It's a Lana Wachowski, I think that's the right Wachowski. Lana, she like comments on our opinion of the Matrix constantly throughout this movie. So to start the movie like that, having this like weird, where are we? Like we know this is a new version of the Matrix, or we think, but like literally we're seeing a new Trinity. Like what is going on? Like it's very intentional, in my opinion. Like she knows that she's doing that to us. So it was kind of a cool way to start the movie. But like also kind of first instinct is it doesn't really look as good as like the original Matrix is, like just from a movie fan perspective. Like I know that the first one they shot it on film, this one they shot in digital, which is like maybe a mistake, but like it's clearer. You can tell it's like an update, but it doesn't like look as, it doesn't have the same feel to it. It's like, I don't know, it looks digital. You know what I mean? So going in as like a movie, that was kind of weird, being like, like that was my first moment. Seeing like the video quality.
Yeah, kind of like the old it's like when Star Wars started over, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't build the actual Millennium Falcon. They just CGI'd this bitch, and you're like,
Exactly.
why? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
Like the Matrix was so much cooler than everything else when it came out that you just hope that the sequel is going to be so much cooler than everything else, you know?
Yeah.
And there's parts of this movie that were really cool, and there's a lot of ideas in this movie that are really cool. There's also parts I'm like, oh, like it just, you can see that on a CW show, like some of the fight scenes and stuff. I was disappointed in certain aspects, but
Yeah,
we'll get there.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it happens. This thing where this modal happens. Bailey, anytime chime in. I'm not going to try and drag you into this. Like you said, you just want to pop in to listen. So anytime, just chime in. You're more than welcome.
There is one thing I wanted to say real
Perfect.
quick.
Yeah, go
is there's different interpretations of this. I don't know if y'all have seen like what the right one was or whatever, but my interpretation is that the game wasn't the Matrix at all. It was him creating it based on memories he recalled from the last like resurrection or incarnation or whatever you want to call it of the Matrix.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that he's trapped. He's like trapped in this new Matrix, and just he's making this game based on memories that actually happened to him in his previous life. You know,
right? And
that was my interpretation. Yeah, I don't know if that's what y'all were saying.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Cool.
We actually had
Yeah.
that's why it's good to have a number of people here, because that's what happened to him. He was trapped in this new reality, and he remembered the old reality, but through the sense of he was a video game programmer. Even though he had a hunch, because he kept running into Trinity, we're going to get to that in a sec, the real Trinity, he had a hunch that there was something else going on, and as a result, they had a handler watching him to make sure he didn't break out of reality again. the old reality to the new
And
reality.
I loved the handler.
You like him?
In a way.
Go ahead, James.
I loved what they did with the handler, which we'll get to, I know. But I thought it was actually very interesting how they did that.
Yeah.
So we'll get there, but yeah.
Okay, so that's how this begins. It's like this modal, this loop, this new old scene, new Trinity, which is not even the same actress. You're like, wait, this is familiar, but it's not. And then there's Bugs. Bugs, blue hair, Asian lady, very pretty, short, and she's with her operator, like James said. The operator, though, is back at the ship or whatever, back at home base on the keyboard watching the Matrix code, but also was able to be there in like a, let's say, spirit form, but in the form of like a hologram. So the operator's there with Bugs as they're watching this modal take place, and they're suspicious in that, wait, we know this, so how do we know this? But then look, that's not Trinity. What's going on here? And so they're trying to figure out the puzzle, and then they have Smith. Somebody want to take Smith? I'm going to step away, fill up my maybe juice. So as this happens, right, we have these agents that are trying to track down Bugs and this operator in his spirit form or digital form. And the agents are familiar and yet not.
Yeah, I can take it, I think.
Okay.
If you want to refill.
Be right back. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So we see, like, as Bugs and this operator, Seek, I think, Sequoia, I think is his name, are watching this, like, other Trinity and stuff. We see these agents who we know are supposed to be Agent Smith because they're using the same lines from the original movie. Like, they're telling the police, like, no, your men are already dead, and that whole thing. But we know from just this movie's coming in, from the poster and the trailer and all that kind of stuff, that this person supposed to be Agent Smith is who we think is this new version of Morpheus. So we're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, how is Morpheus also Agent Smith? And then as kind of Bugs and Sequoia or Seek are watching this all transpire, they realize that the trap, and then this Agent Smith, Morpheus character, meets Bugs, and they have like some kind of altercation, and she falls down and like into this Trinity scene where she's getting like attacked by these other agents, and then we see Morpheus, Agent Smith, pull Bugs through this portal. This is all happening very quickly. It's kind of disorienting. Pull it through a portal into this other room, away from these other agents. And she's like, "Why did you save me?" And that's where we have this modal speech where they both kind of explain to each other, or he explains to him that like this is I think they describe it as the modal is a way for just to evolve programs, like their simulations to evolve programs, which makes you think like the agents are running it, maybe trying to like figure out a way, like what they did wrong the first time to try to beat Trinity and stuff. But this is where we get like the explanation of who this Morpheus Smith character is, you know, where like, and it gets pretty complicated, but essentially like she tells him that, you know, you're a sentient program, right? And he kind of freaks out for a second, and then they have a little speech being like, and she essentially just gives him a red pill. He takes it and has a realization that he is Morpheus. And then I think we get zoomed into Neo's world, like in his video game office, that kind of stuff. But it's a real trippy scene where, I don't know, this Bugs character who's on the outside of this Matrix thing, she's like, I guess, like beaming into this simulation inside the simulation, like finds this Agent Smith who we think is Morpheus. I don't know, and he has some realization where he is Morpheus. It's real trippy. It's a real crazy way to start a movie. To start a rebooted Matrix movie.
It's pretty wild. So I guess she had actually hacked into the modal they had set up, and she so that's how she noticed it and kind of broke into the situation. She had hacked it intentionally by finding some code anomaly that she tracked down, and then found there was this other thing going on. But what it did eventually is, we're going to get there in just a second. We'll get James's take and also Bailey in a sec here. But it drew them into this next iteration of the Matrix, which is where all of the rest of this takes place. Most of it anyway. And so there we go. But yeah, and also notable is that Morpheus is not Morpheus, right? He's a different actor. Like he's a young black man, and you're like, wait, that's not Morpheus. Like, right? It is, but it isn't. But it's supposed to be Smith,
his
too.
Name.
Yeah, it's
he's a great
confusing.
actor. He's a really, really good actor. I gotta find his name, but
yeah,
he's great.
He was a good actor, though. Remember, we were talking about this before, like 2 weeks before the movie. Derek and I and James, we were just kind of shooting this shit, talking about it, and I was like, why isn't Lawrence Fishburne in this? And,
I know.
And the quotes were from him. They never invited me, right? And so we had some speculation. Yeah, I didn't believe it. It's like he was going to show up at some point, right? And
spoiler alert! If you're kind of following along with us here, like Popeye plot, spoiler alert: he doesn't show up, which is like absolutely shocking to me. What are they doing? I mean, like, why wouldn't they invite him back? He is Morpheus, you know?
Exactly. They were nice enough to add a statue of him later, but like, get the fuck out of here. He was one of the best parts of the Matrix. I mean, crying out loud. Yeah.
He brought the gravitas. His speeches, how many different conspiracy shows have his speeches cut up in montages and stuff? Like, it's absolutely legendary, you know? Like, I thought it was just him saying, like, that's classic. That's a classic Marvel move, like having these different cameos, these actors saying, "Oh no, I never got the call. Oops, sorry." But and then them showing up in the third act of the movie. So I just figured it was Lawrence Fishburne. Just I don't know, tricking us, but unbelievable.
I'd be super pissed if I were him. I'd be like,
it's true. If they really didn't ask him to come back, like I'd be. He's doing movie stuff. He's just been in a couple Marvel movies. He was just in another movie with Keanu in John Wick.
Yep.
Like. He's doing stuff. I don't know why they wouldn't have him back. Absolutely crazy.
Super weird.
Big mistake.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. He was one of the best parts of the Matrix, but here we are. A Matrix without him, without Lawrence Fishburne anyway. We got Morpheus, just not Lawrence Fishburne. So James, takes on that?
I also didn't this Morpheus Smith, didn't he use the hallway of back doors?
Yeah, like a portal hallway thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I noticed that, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, the whole Morpheus thing is really odd. I do agree. I don't know why. I don't, even with the footage they spliced in from the old stuff, it still doesn't make sense for him not to be there. For Fishburne not to be there, I don't think, in a way. I mean, so I have no idea what that is about. But you're right. It's. I mean, that is. I think more than any other character, Morpheus, the original Morpheus, his lines, like Derek said, have just been used in so much. So much. So yeah, very very good. I love the update of the technology and the way, you know, the portals work and the technology, just the overall look of it. That was one of the things I did like. In that movie, for sure. So, but yeah, that's all for now.
Yeah, it's so strange, right? So if we're talking about like a King Arthur story or like that whole Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey and all that, you got the mentor and you got the hero. It's like doing King Arthur without Merlin. It's like doing Star Wars without Yoda. You know what it's like? Like, God, bring the guy back. Like, even for a cameo, if he showed up just for an instant, that would have been points. You know what I mean? And he didn't. He didn't. What a letdown.
It might have hurt the movie. Like, there's so many. We'll get into it. Like, but the first part where he like has the realization that he is Morpheus was like, okay, I guess that's kind of cool. Like, you have a program, kind of wake up, kind of take the red pill. Like, that's a cool idea. But like, as it goes along, some of it feels so necessary. Like, they just wrote the stuff because they didn't have Lawrence Fishburne. That if he was just in the movie, it would have been way smoother and a better story. You know, this part of it just seems extra convoluted because they're trying to explain why two of the biggest most recognizable actors from the first movie aren't in this one, you know. And like, I don't know, I'd love to hear, like, hopefully it'll come out soon, like why it didn't happen, like why she didn't ask him to be in it.
Yeah, like, and I think the thing
he's making movies. He's making action movies now. If he was like too overweight and old and stuff, then that's one thing. But he's doing stuff. I don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And it was like that. It was like a completion key that you kind of wanted, you never got. It's one of those things that we'll get to it. I'm really disappointed in this movie for a lot of reasons, but we'll get to those things. Okay, so all this modal stuff happens. Bugs in her operator Seek, as you said, Sequoia. They end up contacting with this new Morpheus, who's not Morpheus. He's Smith, but he's also Morpheus. But then he opens. Remember in it's the third Matrix with the key maker. Remember the whole thing? He was in that room just grinding the keys constantly, and he was able to open back doors in the code and allow them to jump around. And that was a super cool thing, right? There are back doors in programs. It's that was the cool thing about the Matrix in the original aspect to me, is there's a lot of code parallels that were also, by the way, in the real Matrix, right? They're like, it makes sense. You have, back doors to these code worlds, and you can kind of jump through portals by opening a door, and you're in Nepal 1 second, and you're in like New York City the next second. And that's amazing, right? That's the whole, like goddamn, like, thank you. Somebody needs to do that, right?
So cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. But then, right, so then this weirdness happens where he pulls them out into this weird portal. They jump into this hallway. There's like the firefight. The agents come after him. They get disoriented. Why does he get disoriented again? So
he takes the red pill.
Yeah. He takes a red pill. So it's thrown him for a loop. So he goes back in the wrong door. The agents come after him. It's like a big, again, I think they could have trimmed that entire part out, right? Like door, explain some other way. I don't know. Like, I'm a little.
I'm watching it right now. Like, it's playing in the background right now, and that scene just came up. Okay. And then you're 100% right. They could have just cut it out completely.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. But okay, so anyway, so after they get out of that, so now this new guy's Morpheus, but he doesn't realize he's Morpheus. And here's where things start to get weird, because we have characters that are the old characters, but they're not themselves. And I think here's why I think they didn't do this. Why they didn't bring back Lawrence Fishburne, because they needed an in to explain why Neo wasn't Neo and why Trinity wasn't Trinity. And so I get that aspect. We'll get to that in a bit. But the thing is, bring me back Lawrence Fishburne. Fuck, why not? Why?
Why couldn't Lawrence Fishburne just be another person? Like, just have his memory wiped and stuff. Why couldn't like for Agent Smith, they make it seem like they made a more perfect version of him, like this even better looking version of him or whatever. Which, okay, well, that's fine. Get a younger actor, whatever. But he wasn't as good as what's his name from the first one. But for the Morpheus thing, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a mystery to me with what they were doing. Like, the idea of having a program wake up is cool, and like, I don't know. And the way that they used it, we'll get there. But the way that they used it, it was like Neo did it to himself. Like, he designed this Morpheus Smith like amalgam in order to wake himself up in this Matrix world. Like, something in his like subconscious or whatever, like, did it, which is, I guess, a cool idea. But it all just seems like it's because they didn't have Lawrence Fishburne in the movie. It's crazy.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Like, and he was even like kind of bitching and moaning about not being in the movie. He thought it was fake, but it was real. He was actually like, they didn't invite me. They didn't. They fucking didn't. Can you believe that shit?
Unbelievable.
And notably, another thing real quick before we get into that, they did invite Agent Smith, the real one, Viggo Mortensen. No. What's his name?
They did?
Yeah, they did. Not Viggo Mortensen. That's Lord of the Rings, the other guy. What's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. But they did invite Agent Smith, and his comment was he had a prior engagement during the shooting, and so he couldn't peel off enough time to do both at the same time. So he said he was invited.
What is that other engagement? What could that possibly be for him? Like, what is more important for his career than The Matrix?
He's on Broadway or something. I don't fucking know.
I know.
What's his name? Somebody's got his name. Anyway,
I'm looking it up right now.
It's fine. Everybody knows who we're talking about. The Mr. Anderson, right? That guy. Okay. So anyway, Elrond in Lord of the Rings. Okay. So all right. I don't know. I'm so
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving. Yes, thank you. I'm so fucking mad about this movie. I'm so fucking mad about this Matrix movie.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm mad. I'm really mad.
I'm not that mad.
I'm kind of mad.
Disappointed. I'm not that mad.
Yeah, they had so many opportunities to do this right, and I think they fucked up so many times along the way. But okay, so anyway, let's get into the next phase of this. So then we have Neo, back to that whole Neo thing, and he's a computer programmer, and he's programmed the game that is the Matrix itself. Those movies we know that everybody knows, and they had like this like super long montage of like people talking about, oh, what is the Matrix? It's bullet time. It's this. It's that. And they have these fucking corporate meetings of these like chubby millennials, right? Like talking about what the Matrix, like
trying to design the next game. Yeah,
trying to design the game. Go ahead.
It's very meta. So like the story is like they're being forced to make the Matrix 4. Like they have, like he said he would never make the Matrix 4 game. So like they're trying to describe in this room, in this writer's room, what made the Matrix what the Matrix is. And it's her, like Lana Wachowski's commentary on what's going on, you know? And like, it is meta, and I get it. It's like tongue in cheek. I get it. But also like, come on, you're rebooting the fucking Matrix. Like, give it to us, you know? Give us that good stuff. Like, we don't need this, you know? This is like a SNL sketch. It's not the Matrix movie.
Exactly. You know? It turned into an SNL sketch, didn't it? And you're watching like these guys talk about how good the Matrix was. You're like, fuck you, I saw it myself. You don't need you to tell me this. Right? So,
like for me watching it, like originally when they're saying like bullet time, like it's all about bullet time. We need to make the next bullet time. I get it, because that's a conversation that she had in real life. Like,
right. Exactly.
Trying to make this movie, like, you have to have a new bullet time.
Yep.
But I just, in my head, I expected for her to put that line in this movie that she had one coming, that there was going to be another bullet time, a new version of bullet time coming, and there wasn't. Spoiler alert: there was no like new cool thing. Like there's one that like, they say there is.
There was.
They say there is, but it wasn't. It wasn't though. It wasn't like
it wasn't as cool.
It's not game shattering. It's just slow motion. Like
exactly. Yeah. For facepalm, James. How'd you feel about the sessions with the chubby millennials talking about the Matrix and what it is?
Yeah, as being a writer, that was hard. That was a really hard scene. I did get that it was a commentary, but I also feel like that was another one of those scenes that they could have truncated a bit, maybe even more than a bit.
Yeah. I would have trimmed so much out of that fucking movie. If they handed that thing to me, I'd have been like, chop, 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 chop. I'm like, back to the drawing board. Bring me a better movie. This is bullshit.
It's a 90-minute movie. I mean,
yeah. It was rough. Okay, so anyway, let's move past the shitty part and get to where this starts to get spicy. All right. So we have Neo. He's the coder, right? He's the famous coder now. He's got these latent memories of the Matrix prior, and he's in this new reality, which is actually the new Matrix. And people see him as he's the guy, right? Like he's famous in this world, sort of in that incognito famous way where nobody would recognize his face because he's not like on the camera. He's the guy behind the code, right? So he's famous, he's rich, he's got all the things he needs, but he's also
this game is bigger than any game we have in real life. This is like the biggest game ever.
Exactly. But he's also got this psychosis because he doesn't understand that he's not in his own reality. which takes us to, let's just jump to the handler. Let's just jump to Doogie Howser, shall we?
The analyst.
The analyst. Who wants to take this? James, do you want to take this one?
I could go into it. I mean, it was really interesting that, and I want to make sure I got this right. It was the, psychologist?
Therapist, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, the one that was supposed to be helping Neo basically stay in reality, which was really interesting, the way that all worked.
Yeah.
Neo was having these memories and starting to see. I feel like he was starting to see like through the world around him.
Yeah.
And but then he got better with this analyst's help. But then, and that was before the movie started. But then things started to happen again.
Yeah.
And
you were just popping blue pills like crazy.
Yeah. The whole blue, and then eventually, so I thought that was really interesting, but also disturbing in a way that they went that route.
Yeah. Mental health.
I did not care for that, at least not from like a personal point of view, or from just a human point of view. From a writer's point of view, it made sense.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't think I could have done that.
Yeah, a little bit rough. Bailey, you want to cut in here? Sorry, we keep running over Bailey.
Oh, I just was going to say, I actually liked the part where they were sitting around talking about what the Matrix was going to be, but that was a while ago.
Well, okay. Wait, though, why? Go ahead. Why?
Hey, why'd you like it?
The reason I liked it is because I saw it more of like if the movie was amazing, that part would have been really funny, because I saw it as her trying to be like, this is what all the people on social media are saying, but I'm about to give you to something you did not predict.
Exactly.
And like, I
needed
actually
a new bullet time. It needed something good. Yeah, exactly.
But like, the thing to me is like, it did give me something that I absolutely did not predict. Like, that's true. So like, in the frame of like the scene, if it was like followed by something amazing and epic, I would have been like, that was funny.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But then like, with the follow up of, I actually just didn't give you anything.
Yeah,
it's a little less funny, Exactly. But that scene, I think, was possibly a build up to something better, and I think it was actually like an interesting scene to put in there. I don't think it was so much like sitting in Lena's chair as much as like commentary from her on like what Reddit's saying,
Yeah,
that could be. Yeah, like what are the Matrix bros that are like 30 years old that were like 10 when they saw this shit? Gotcha.
Well,
and everyone's gonna be like, oh, there's gonna be bullet time, and there's gonna be this, and there's gonna be that, and like everybody was wrong in the end.
Yeah, there's one guy was like, yeah, I don't even really like the Matrix, but we definitely need a bunch of guns. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and they come back to the scene with Neo and the guns.
So, I know, like on a political, like just mainstream level, a big part of this was like people don't like how the conspiracy world took the red pill idea. So like a big part of this narrative is trying to like take back the idea of the red pill. They're trying to like say to all those like red pill bros that like, no, that's not what this movie's about. I mean, so a lot of this, like, it has that woven into it, which I don't know. Take it for what it is. Your mileage may vary when it comes to that kind of stuff, but there was definitely a lot of that in this movie. It was extremely meta, which is weird because it's a metaverse movie.
Which is fine, but fuck's sakes, pay it off at some point.
Hey, you got to pay it off. You have to give us something, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Great comment from Jennifer in the chat. Hold on one moment, please. Jennifer says bullet time was kind of an early skill. It was moving faster than bullets. The upgrade was Neo stopping bullets in the first movie instead of just dodging them. He stopped them, which remember he did. He put his hand up and just completely stopped them because he was able to just control everything around him, like computer code might, right? Like a sentient program might, which he realized he was at some point. So yeah, pretty wild stuff. Okay, so let's just skip past all this shit that pisses me off because, well, I guess
there's more coming.
No. All right. So where do we jump from here? All right. So he's the coder. So a couple notable things. He's the famous coder of the Matrix, right? Which are the latent memories of an old movie of himself in another Matrix. All right. So he is still Neo. He still is Thomas Anderson, but he's a different person now. And he doesn't know that he's different. He thinks he's the same, but he's actually a different person. And we see this with that whole... So he's got Doogie Howser, the actor that plays him. I can't remember his name. He pisses me off, too.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. He's a good actor, but in this movie, he pisses me off quite a lot. So there's a lot of things about this movie that piss me off. But okay, so Doogie Howser, I'm going to just call him that because I'm going to deprecate the shit out of him. He's the guy that's giving Neo the pills, but he's giving him blue pills, right? I get the connection to keep him in this new Matrix. But Neo, as he's taking these pills from this his name is the Analyst, which is what he ends up being called, the Doogie Howser guy, right? Who's actually his therapist, Neo's therapist. There's a scene where Neo's looking in the mirror as he's like kind of dropping these pills in the sink, and you can see he's looking straight ahead, but there's a mirror on the side, and you see the person in the mirror is not the same person that Neo sees himself as. So he's somebody else. He's not even the John Wick looking dude. He's like an old guy with white hair, right? I'm sure you guys
so weird.
That. Right?
Yeah, that was weird as hell. And like to explain how they the way they explain it is they're like, I forget the term they use for it, but they're like their perception of themselves inside the Matrix, they're like latent perception or whatever is what forms their physical appearance, and that in this new version of the Matrix that the machines are able to control that. They're able to control how people view you. So he sees himself walking around as John Wick, as Neo, but the whole world sees him as this old guy, which like, okay, I get it. But then, like, once he snaps out of it and becomes Neo again, like, is everybody still... We see him the whole time as Keanu Reeves. But are other people... Is Trinity, when they meet, like, before she realizes what's going on, is she seeing an old guy, or is she seeing who we're seeing? Because that's a whole different movie, you know? Like, I don't understand. I don't have the answer to that. Yeah. How did you interpret it? Yeah.
James?
Oh, you know what? A lot of that was too fast for me to really see that very well. So I didn't pick up on that, but that is interesting. I didn't pick up on him being an older guy until later on in the movie.
Yeah, it was fast. Me and Mrs. Strange had to rewind to double check. I was like, "Did you see that in the mirror?" She's all, "No, what?" Yeah. I'm all, "No, there was something in the mirror that was not him." I was like, "Is that a ghost? Yeah. What the fuck was that?" And I
saw that there was something different. Sorry, I saw there was something different. I just didn't get to see what it was.
Yeah, it was weird. What do you think? Like is Bugs like I know when they explain it, like they point the mirror at him. Like they explain it probably like 20 minutes later in the movie from where we are in the plot. But like, I don't know. But then going forward, when they're all like seeing him fighting everybody, when like, are they seeing Keanu Reeves or are they seeing this old guy? Like when Carrie Ann Moss, when Tiff in this reality is seeing this mysterious stranger who created this video game, is she seeing him as Keanu Reeves or is she seeing him as this old guy? It's crazy. Like, I don't know. I guess the purpose was like to hide him from people trying to find Neo in the Matrix. So
exactly.
People,
yep.
But like, yeah, I don't know. It makes it's a lot weirder if Tiff was like falling in love with this weird old guy than it was if she was like falling in love with Keanu Reeves. I
think she actually saw him. This is my interpretation of that. I think she actually saw him as Keanu Reeves. And
me too.
She was the only one.
I hope so.
Yeah, she was the only one because she had that same latent memory from the previous Matrix, where we'll get to later, where they're connected. And this is interesting because we did a show on this the day the Matrix came out, called, what was it, the Divine Programmer and the Dark Counterplayer, if you remember that. And interestingly, we were talking about the duality of creation in that show. And oddly and interestingly enough, there's so much of that. Exactly. It's like we predicted some of this, right?
Crazy.
It's crazy how much of that is in this. So, so I think that she saw him. Okay, just to fill in the blanks, Trinity shows up. He goes to a coffee shop that she likes to go to. So they see each other and they're close in each other's world. And they notice each other, but they don't know each other, all right? And then one of Neo's buddies is Neo's always got his eye on her because he likes her clearly because they're connected from the past worlds, etc. So on. He gets introduced to her in some weird way, which I thought the funniest line of the whole movie was her kids. So Trinity has kids. He's all you're trying to ball my mom.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I almost fell out of my chair, but yeah, I mean, okay. Anybody else want to jump in here? Bailey, we're running you over here. Thoughts on any of this?
You mentioned the dualism concept, and I think that's what this whole movie is about. Like, I kind of think of it as like an allegory to like reviving Tiamat, if that makes sense. Like the whole like feminine and masculine being brought back together again, I think is the whole point of this movie, which I actually thought was really interesting. Like, the story's really cool. It's just I think they could have implemented it better, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of different binaries in play. Like the other game he's trying to make is called Binary, and then we have like all these different binaries. Like we'll get to throughout the course of the movie, but even him and Agent Smith, like Agent Smith is constantly talking about me and you again. It's all about me and you. Together again, like old times. I missed you. It's like you're the other half to my whole. But then also he's the other half. We'll get there again, but like him and Trinity create a whole together, and then like we get into this Gnostic idea where. I don't know. That's another binary with this like Demiurge Sophia type thing. But I don't know. There's a lot of different. It's like a commentary on like there's more. It's not just binary. Like there's a lot of different things going on. Like it's not just light and dark.
Exactly.
Like the first one was. Yeah.
Exactly. James, anything on that?
That is interesting. I hadn't. I definitely noticed the binary, the opposites things. There's a lot of interesting. I do agree. There are a lot of interesting ideas in the movie. It wasn't always clear, and then there were just things that kind of distracted from those things, from those ideas. So, but no, I definitely appreciated a lot of the ideas in the movie overall. Yeah. So it's one of those. It's a mixed bag for me. This movie. It's I can't say I can't say I wouldn't recommend it at all, but I can't say it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
I liked it honestly. I liked it. Like this, I was frustrated by it by a lot, but like I'm glad it exists. I guess I don't know. Like I like spending more time in the movie. Like I mean, in this world that they have. Like I wish there are a lot of cool ideas, but I wish like. I don't know. I had a bar, and it didn't reach it at all. But like, I'm glad it exists rather than not exist. I guess you know.
I'm glad I didn't fall asleep in the final 20 minutes. That's what I'm glad.
I'm gonna rewatch it a lot. It's gonna be added to the rotation. Like when I watch these movies, like it's not like the Ghostbusters where people just forget it exists, or like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like I'm gonna include it. It's gonna be part of the rewatch for me. But it's just gonna be like. The worst of the four, for sure.
Right, exactly. Jennifer in the chat says, fun fact, Chad Stahelski plays Trinity's husband in Matrix 4.
Yeah.
He's Keanu's stunt double in the original Matrix movies and directs the John Wick films. There you go.
Yeah.
There's
which
your
is frustrating because
multiverse shit right there.
Exactly. Which is even more frustrating because if you make him do some of the choreography, like I was about to mention that, like the fight choreography is not good in this movie, especially in comparison to the original movies. And you have the John Wick director in a cameo in the movie. Like, get him to do some of it. Get him to, like, I don't know. They didn't bring back any of the Wire guys for all of the Wire fighting from the original movies. And, like, I don't know. The fighting was my biggest disappointment. I'm like, that's honestly, like, they fucked up big time with the fighting.
Well, and I think part of that, I wonder, and this is another one of those spoilers, everyone, is the whole swarm bot idea. The whole, basically, these things that could infect people and turn them into almost like agents in a way, but not with the intelligence.
Zombies, basically.
Basically like zombies. I don't know. It didn't seem like they had any fighting ability. Yeah. Like it was almost like it was done intentionally.
Yeah.
To where they didn't have
I know. Yeah.
So you're not going to have, if you're making characters that are just zombies, then you're not going to have good fights.
But even even like the dojo fight, like we'll get there again. Like we're out of order now, but like there's a scene after Neo gets pulled out and everything, where they go into the dojo, like their kind of recreation of the original, maybe the best fight scene in the last 25 years, possibly, where Neo and Morpheus fight for the first time. They do another version of that where he fights this new Morpheus, but like it's a different they're different leagues, different categories when it comes to like the caliber of the fight. One was this is so close in, it's like so many quick cuts. It's basically like you're watching a CW show, just like you're watching some low budget week to week show fight scene. Whereas the first one, it still holds up as being just spectacular. Like they did the work. You can tell they were in some warehouse training for 90 days to do all these fight scenes, you know. And the choreography was not even close to being there for like the maybe 2 or 3 fights that they actually did have, but before this zombie sword happened, you know.
Yeah, and even just Neo's character in general. I don't know if it's because he's gotten older or what, but there was a difference in the way in his fighting as well.
Yeah.
Like, it just, you know, I don't know. The fighting was definitely not on par.
Yeah, I don't know. He's definitely different, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to. Like, I'll wait till we get there. But like, you can explain, I guess, part of that, him having a different power set, I guess. But it's just from a movie standpoint, as far as the fights are concerned, he's still John Wick. He's still known for doing it, for like training and doing this. That's part of who Keanu Reeves is he does the work, so they're really fighting. You can just put a camera on Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves and have them fight each other for a couple minutes, you know. And that just wasn't the case. It was a cut every 2 seconds, less than that. It was like, I don't know. It didn't look good, which is disappointing. No. I was hoping we would at least get something cool for a fight, you know.
Derek, we all get old.
I guess, yeah. But he's still John Wick. Like John Wick 4 is going to be coming out later next year. So like, I don't know. The fight scenes in that movie better not be better than this. And then like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's the Matrix, you know.
Yeah, so a couple notable things too. So apparently, is Lena is her name, I believe, that directed this one. I think that COVID cut this one short. Remember that all that publicity about they were busting up San Francisco. They shut down streets and people were all pissed off. They left after they filmed and there was damage on particular things. People were pissed off about this when it was going down. And then shortly thereafter, COVID shut everything down. So it was kind of like one of those situations where it was a fragmented creation of this. Yeah, because it felt like that, didn't it? It totally felt like it was fragmented, yeah.
Like the first movie, all the movies felt like, it's because of what happened. They trained for 6 months with all the fights. They did them. And then like, it's for any like Netflix Marvel show nerds that are listening, it's the classic Daredevil versus Iron Fist. Like Daredevil has some of the best fight scenes in TV show history because they did the work. And Iron Fist, which was a martial arts show, they didn't. You had to make a bunch of cuts. Like clearly the actors weren't actually fighting. It's I don't know. You can just tell that they didn't put the time in. And if it's because of COVID, like fine, I guess whatever, it happens. But it's definitely my least favorite part of the movie is that they didn't at least give us like a Matrix caliber fight scene. If you're going to redo the Matrix, like, I don't know, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate. So apparently, Lena was like, you know what? Forget it. Like at this point, we're not going to finish this movie. And so the word on the street says on Wikipedia as well that the cast and everybody was pressing her to say, hey, look, let's do this. Let's finish this. We got so much of this. This is going to be a good thing. So I kind of get it.
Well,
as like a creator.
they needed to have it be released within a month of the metaverse launching, you know, that needed to happen. They couldn't have waited, you know?
Yeah. And unfortunately, well, I don't know. I think COVID screwed up a lot of things in a lot of ways. So I'm not going to get into that because clearly that's a whole fucking another 20-hour conversation. But but like in this particular instance, it was a shame because I think it kind of broke this too. Not that in the end, this was a disaster, but it probably could have been a lot better if you gave it like its traditional, start to finish. But okay, so let's get into the rest of this then. So Neo's he's the programmer. He sees Trinity in the coffee shop from time to time. He's always got his eyes on her, like, hey, who's that? Hubba hubba, what's up, baby? And then like there's like that, they're drawn to each other. They notice each other, but they don't connect. They're close to each other. They live in the same neighborhood. They go to the same places, but they don't connect. And there's a reason for that. So I don't know. Am I jumping ahead? I don't know. I think we're spoiler like crazy. I don't think we got to like fill in all the blanks here, but
yeah.
But I don't know. Okay. So he's trying to meet her, and then his little millennial chubby guy that I keep referring to is like, hey, let me introduce you. So he does, and they talk and they shake hands. And there's like that moment where they know, right? They know it's each other, even though, oddly enough, Neo in the mirror is an old guy with white hair. And later on, after they meet and have coffee together, you see a reflection of Trinity in the table, and she's a blonde old lady, right? She's got blonde hair.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, dude. When they're sitting down having coffee, it's the same. It was the same thing. It's super quick. And Mrs. Strange.
So that answers the question then. Yes. So that answers it. So they definitely see each other as.
So they see each other as themselves.
Yeah.
And okay, remember this too. Notably, Trinity says this to him later on. She says, "Hey, look, I was showing my husband the video game.
Oh,
and I asked him, does this look like me? And he rolled his eyes, right? Like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Right? Because she sees herself as Trinity, but she's Tiffany now. And Tiffany has blonde hair and looks nothing like Trinity. So the husband was making a natural reaction of, no, fuck no, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Because she doesn't look anything like that person. Because now this is the crazy part. This is the part that had me intrigued when it started, is that it's like a rewrite of code on top of old code. And so they are themselves and they see themselves as themselves, but they've been reskinned like a video game, right? Yeah, so it's like you just take the skin off and just drop a new skin on like another NPC, but you don't change the base code and they're still the same people, except with latent memories of a past that they think is a psychosis. So so you get, right? So go watch that scene. You see a reflection in the table. Trinity is actually an older blonde lady. She doesn't look anything like herself. Thoughts there? No,
I mean, these are some big time commentaries on like different things that people go through all the time. Like seeing what you see in the mirror not being what you see in your mind's eye is definitely something that Lana Wachowski had probably gone through during the course of her life, for sure. I would imagine. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, for sure. You know, it's weird. I mean, it clarifies whether like who is she seeing? Is she seeing this old guy or not? It confuses me how she has these young kids and young husband, and she's this old lady. That's a weird thing. But
well, I don't think she was old. I think because it's a reflection in a table. And you can't get a clear view of exactly what it is, but you can tell it's a blonde woman, right? Oh, okay. Light-haired woman for sure. I don't know if she's old or young or what, because it's so short. It's like a quick cut. It's like the camera kind of like pans, and you see like the reflection on the table for just a second. And I missed it. My wife was like, "Hey, look," because I pointed out the guy in the mirror. We rewound to that, and then she caught the one on the table, right? So it's good, good teamwork.
But good teamwork. That does make the thing she says about her husband responding to seeing her in the game pack way more of a punch. You know, that kind of puts it all together for sure.
Agreed.
Yep. Yeah, thoughts on that, James? And then we'll go to Bailey to make sure, and then we'll move on to the rest of this as it moves into the next episode of trying to find Neo. Because now, right, the modal, when we're in the Matrix, Trinity and Neo are together, but they're not. They don't know each other, but they feel drawn to each other anyway. They're different people. They see themselves as the same. Shit goes off the rails after this, not necessarily in a good way. Thoughts, James?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting about the reflection at the restaurant. See, I'm so used to listening more than watching that if things are too quick, I don't even notice it. But yeah, I really did like in that way that they were they were drawn to each other but didn't know why. I thought that was interesting.
For sure.
And then definitely that was one of the things I think they did fairly well in the movie, was that part at least. But yeah, no, that's it. That explains a lot in that scene. With the husband's reaction and everything. So I'm glad that we talked about that.
It might inspire a whole generation of creeps, though, who just think that they're being called to these girls in coffee shops. We were together in a previous iteration of the Matrix. Life. We belong together. Trinity.
Wait. Back to what was it? Back to the Future. I am your density.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh shit! Here we go. All right. So then there's this weird connection again. We got the analyst who's Doogie Howser, that guy Neil Patrick Harris, and he's like giving Neo blue pills. Notice he gives him literally huge bottles of blue pills. Bailey, anything? Sorry, anything there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think the actual part that I liked the most about the movie was, the whole relationship between Trinity and Neo kind of being refound. I think it was a really cool plot point, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, the whole idea of the agents are like Marduk keeping Tiamat separated, and that whole story evolving, it was, I think, a really cool detail in the movie, and maybe the most strong plot point, and also a lot of the best scenes were actually just them together and recognizing who they were. I think that was a really cool part of the movie.
100%.
It was great. Carrie Ann Moss was great.
I couldn't agree more. Yep, exactly. There are some beautiful moments in this movie, and it's unfortunate that there's not more of them, because they got the cast. Carrie Ann Moss is amazing. Keanu, right, for all his woodenness, the wooden Neo is still whoa, I know.
Keanu, you gotta love Keanu.
Yeah, you gotta love
something about him.
Exactly. It's kind of like Arnold, right? He was a terrible actor, but he was still so lovable. It's just
exactly.
Yeah. 100%. Go ahead, Bailey.
I honestly think this movie would have been a better movie if they just cut out all the parts in the real world.
Kind of, right?
If they only had all the parts in the Matrix, it would have been a good movie.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, and just had maybe little latent cut-in memories of while they were doing whatever they were doing, just kind of memories of those spots, but not actually fully filling them out like they tried to do. It was too much. It feels like they made a 4.5 hour movie and they were just left with all these choices of what to cut and made a bunch of poor choices.
Oh,
that's what
we
it feels
barely
like to
even
me.
got to it. There's so much exposition dumps in this. Basically, Bugs, her whole character is just expository. She's just explaining to Neo what happened in the last 60 years and to the audience. You're right, Bailey. If they cut all those scenes out, it would have been a lot simpler and better.
Yeah, I could imagine a version, maybe this is even what they were going for in the first place. I don't know, but a version where the whole new movie was just them in the Matrix realizing what was happening, and then at the end they're oh, and they end up in the real world and it's over. That would have been better, I think, than this.
Oh wow, that'd been cool. Yeah, that'd been cool. I did want an explanation as to how the hell is this happening? How are we in a new Matrix? So I did just give me the real world enough to explain that. How are we back in this if Neo just sacrificed himself? But you're right. It would have been cool.
That could have been the mystery of the whole movie. Is how are we back here again?
Yeah, exactly. If there's a sequel, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but if there's a sequel, it could be a lot more in this world. It seems like this is a way spoiler for the plot. It seems more like what their goal is together now, Trinity and Neo, is to just reshape the Matrix world. Less to unplug people, because it seems like people in this version of the Matrix don't really want to be unplugged. That's kind of a commentary on society. But people aren't dying to escape to this terrible world of the machines in the real world. So what they're going to do maybe going forward, if there's a sequel, is just paint the sky rainbow, like they say, and just give people a crazy new experience in the Matrix to realize that what they're experiencing isn't real, which might be what's happening in the real world with all this crazy shit we keep experiencing every week, these different crazy headlines and asteroids and murder hornets and shit. Is that what's happening? Just our one giving us crazy stories to make us realize we're living in a simulation? Yeah,
I think there's a lot of reason to think that might be where they take the next one, because it also ties into, you know, a lot of like spiritual kind of talk about raising people's vibrations, about how there were like 3 waves of volunteers or whatever to come in and raise everyone's vibration.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like that kind of stuff, like totally ties into this, right?
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Maybe I'm like going too far into the conspiracy end for this show, but like I think really this is an intentional thing that they're bringing into the show, especially from the creator of movies like, you know, Sense8.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, all of her movies kind of like go in this direction, so I don't think it's too far of a leap to say I think that's where they're taking it is exactly like right on what you were saying, Nightstocker.
That'd be cool. Like, I hope they make more of them. Like, I don't want this to be the last one, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I just hope they don't fuck it up next time.
I know. Yeah.
I saw that the budget was almost $190 million on this budget. Like, fuck.
I don't know how they make it back. I can't imagine they make it back. It's on HBO Max. Who's seen this in theaters? Yeah. And then, like, Spider-Man just capped $1 billion in like 11 days. Maybe like people are, I don't know. People aren't seeing this in theaters. People aren't lining up to see this. But everyone I know is watching it, at least. Like, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, with that whole duality thing in the Matrix, it makes me wonder if the Wachowski twins actually saw that Philip K. Dick thing we did not too long ago, right? It seems like, like it's so weird that like that duality creation bit about, right, a programmer and a counter player over like a, you know, 12D chessboard is exactly what's going on here. It's just executed poorly, unfortunately.
Exactly. I mean, even the scene, we're hopping all around, but even the scene where Smith and Neo are fighting, they're like smashing through walls and stuff, and they land like in that bathroom, with a chessboard floor. Like floor is all just black and white and checkerboard, you know, which has all kind of Masonic ties and stuff, but mainly it ties to this giant cosmic chess. But they're another duality. Like, I like how there's multiple binaries in the movie. Like there's multiple wheels at play. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. No, Bailey, we did not go into the Philip K. Dick in Rome. Basically, in France, we did. So go back and listen to that show if you guys haven't seen it. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's crazy. So on the day Matrix was released, we did a Troubled Mind show, and it was about Philip K. Dick and his idea that we actually live in a matrix, and his whole idea of a duality of creation. It's wild. Like, I was shocked.
77.
Like, 77? What do you mean?
From the year 77. It was like so ahead of the curve.
1977. No, it's France. It's France for sure. I just did the show on this, Bailey. For sure, France. Check it out. The name of
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. The name of the name.
I thought it was Rome, but that is like a really good story, and I think it ties to the Matrix really well. Like, he literally said he saw the Matrix in real life one time. Basically, he didn't call it the Matrix, but that's basically what the experience was, right?
No, he did. He did call it the Matrix. He did. He said we live in a matrix.
He did?
His words out of his mouth. Yes, out of his mouth. I've got the clips. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. I got it right here. Hold on. I'm gonna play this right now because I think it fits. Listen to this. Yeah. I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna so you have echo for a sec, but listen to this, guys. This is wild. This is exactly what Philip K. Dick said, and we did this show on the day this movie came out before any of us had seen it. Yeah. And by the way, we buried Clyde Lewis's ass that night. Here we go.
Oh,
buried him. He did a counter Matrix show, and we destroyed his ass because of Philip K. Dick. Shout out to David out there for the pointing this out to me. Check this out. This was the clip. Philip K. Dick describing the Matrix. Here we go. Action.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. This, too, might account for the sensation people get of having lived past lives. They may well have, but not in the past. Previous lives, rather, in the present. In perhaps an unending repeated present, like a great clock dial in which grand clock hands sweep out the same circumference forever, with all of us carried along unknowingly, yet dimly suspecting. Since at the resolution of every encounter of thesis and antithesis between the dark counterplayer and the divine programmer, a new synthesis is struck off, and since it is possible that each time this happens, a lateral world may be generated, And since I conceive that each synthesis or resolution is to some degree a victory by the programmer, each struck-off world in sequence must be an improvement upon not just the prior one, but an improvement upon all the latent or merely possible outcomes. It is a better world, but in no sense perfect, which is to say final. It is merely an improved stage within a process. What I envision clearly is that the programmer is perpetually using the antecedent universe as a gigantic stockpile for each new synthesis, the antecedent universe then possessing the aspect of chaos, or anomie, in relation to an emerging new cosmos. Therefore, the endless process of sequential struck-off alternate worlds emerging and being infused with actualization is negentropic in some way that we cannot see.
Okay, so he didn't, in that clip, he didn't say the Matrix itself. I think in another one, I'm pretty sure he did, but holy fuck, right? Did he not just describe the Matrix?
It's incredible. It's 77 too. It blows my mind how like, think about where computers.
Oh, he did at the start. He said we live in a matrix.
Yeah, he did. In the beginning.
He said
he
at the
did.
start.
I missed it. All right, sorry, you guys are echoing. Let me fix that. All right, yeah. So this is what I'm saying, right? The craziest part is it seems like the entire inspiration for all of these movies were exactly that speech, but we don't even know that, do we? Imagine if it wasn't. Imagine if they never heard that shit at all. Like, holy fuck.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah, and I won't go into it, but just to say, I can get behind the idea of living those different lives. I'm wondering now if that's what people experience sometimes when they're sleeping, and they have dreams of other lives.
Yeah.
As I've described in the main show a couple of times. My own experience was that. I wonder now if that was more of memories of those other lives more than it was me somehow accessing another version of me in another universe. I wonder if it was all the same version of me, but having memories of those other lives in my dreams somehow.
I just can't really understand how it's not a multiverse though. Like, what's the difference? It's just like a linked consciousness between all the different versions of yourself. How is it different than like a multiversal tree of realities? You know? And
it could be that there is no difference, or that they're just really similar.
Yeah.
I think a lot of paranormal stuff can overlap. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think the difference is it's not a tree. It's just a linear grouping of things happening and then restarting and redoing. It's a cycle, not a tree, right? In that example.
Okay.
I think it's like
agreed.
But each moment has like stacked up like infinite possible outcomes.
Yep. Exactly.
So,
but not in Philip K. Dick's example, right? Because Philip K. Dick's example is that they change something and then it continues, and they change something and then it continues, and not that it's like they create a new copy of it that's changed somewhere and then run that.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so it's a linear progression. But
okay.
I'm not saying that's the real or anything, but I'm saying I think that's what Philip K. Dick was saying, but I'm not sure.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But he did say that there was some sort of crazy that we're going all the way back to that, but he did say there was some sort of sodium pentothal, I believe he said, with a dentist that like unlocked this thing inside of him, and so it actually allowed him to see into these other versions of these same matrices, right? In the sense that he also wrote that book. What was it?
Man in the High Castle?
Yes, Man in the High Castle, where the Nazis and the Japanese won World War II. And he actually envisioned a world after World War II where they had won. It's nutty stuff. Like, it's literally like crazy. And he even says, I've got all these clips here. If you guys want all these clips and all the videos, let me know and I'll link them. I'll actually put them in the links underneath this just so you guys can check it out. But it's fucking wild. He says that it wasn't a dream state. He feels like he was actually there. Like
that's what I think it's like.
Go ahead.
That's what makes me think it's like more of like a multiverse thing, because like it wasn't like a memory of a changed simulation. It was like another parallel simulation that was happening. He was just experiencing at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not only that, very much like we see with Neo and Trinity in this iteration of the Matrix Resurrections, where they saw themselves as themselves, they also were not themselves. Everybody else saw them as somebody different. He described the same thing, Philip K. Dick, and that he was there and remembered his past life, his other life. He didn't even say past. It was his other life.
Yeah.
But people saw him as something else when he was in that iteration of that Matrix. It's fucking wild, man. This whole thing is just
wild.
off the rails. Yeah, we could do a whole nother show now after the Matrix with the Philip K. Dick shit, knowing what we know about the Matrix. But okay, so to cut to the chase here, it's just so we don't make this like a 10-hour long thing, to cut to the chase. So they found Neo, right? So Bugs and the operator and the people that are actually not in Zion now, it's Io, which I found interesting, right? In the old days, it was Zion was the human city that actually had broken out of the Matrix. They built their own city. It's where the robot war went on. Remember the guy and the thing and all the shooting the robot swarms? Well, now it's Io. Now think of the terms. Z-I-O-N and I-O is the two middle letters of Zion, right? It's like Zion
vowels.
without the Z and the N, right? And
vowels.
Right? Yes.
Right, but vowels are left.
Yes.
The consonants are taken out.
Exactly. I spent a ton of time looking at this, and I was like, "Fuck!" I can't find any. Like I was reading all the shit, and I was doing all the shit, and I'm like, "There's got to be something here that's above my head." And I was reading and chasing and finding, and I'm like, "Fuck! I can't get anything." And that's all I got. What James said and what I had. You take the Z, you take the N, you lop them off, and you got IO. And it's again. Consonants gone, you got the vowels. That's all I got. Io is like a Greek mortal muse of Zeus. Zion, of course, is a Judaism term for ancient Israel. I don't know. Anybody else got anything on that?
Just one other thing. If you take IO, input, output.
Oh shit. Yes, I love it. I didn't catch that. I love it.
Cool. I mean, if you're taking the Greek one, like being the lover of Zeus, then it could be like Jada Pinkett Smith wants to have a relationship with the machines. That this city was built by machines and man together. It's different. It's not a refuge from machines. It's like built with them. So maybe that's the idea of a lover of Zeus, like a marriage of man and God, a marriage of human and machine creates this human machine city where they live in peace. It's kind of one idea I had, maybe.
I love it. And I think that's the thing, right? So these decisions weren't made lightly, and that's why we find ourselves digging, right? We're like trying to find out, like, okay, so what exactly, And unfortunately, in my opinion, here we are. good friends, it's fine, and I loved it, and I love this, but I didn't love that. I wish they did better. But I think we can thank COVID for this in some part, for breaking this shit up and having to create. Imagine having to think about it this way: if we had like a Troubled Mind show that went for like an hour and a half, and we had to like bust it up and like resume it 6 months later, you know what I mean? Like it just. Yeah. The two parts would suck. It would be like two different things, I'd have tons of time to think on it. We'd have tons of time to think on it. It would change. And I think that's what we're looking at here. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Okay. So they locate Neo as part of the modal. The whole Neo and Trinity thing, they come together, but they're not together. They only notice each other in periphery. They meet at the coffee shop, et cetera, so on. And then Bugs and crew outside of the Matrix and Io decide they're going to go rogue. They meet Niobe, the old Niobe of the old days, and she's in this Io, which is, again, Zion reformed, but they're growing strawberries. Also, notably and interestingly, we didn't add this to the equation, Neo breaks out of the Matrix, and it's very similar. I think that's the thing that killed me a lot about this movie too. There's so many similar scenes to the old one that they were almost indistinguishable, right? It's like slight variations, but he breaks out. He wakes up in the pod. He's got the thing in his neck and all the tubes in him and shit. And he wakes up but this time there's a robot that comes and picks him up. Anybody want to take on the robot thing and how there's a symbiosis here?
Well, yeah, I mean the robot. Yeah, the robot comes and that kind of happens in the first one where it's like, but they're controlling the robot, and the robot's the one that unplugs them so he can like fall through the tube and stuff. But like, do you think that similar thing's going to happen in this one? But then the robot.
But real quick, wasn't the robot? So the old robot that did that to him was part of the Matrix. That when they wake up, it like throws them down the garbage disposal, right? So it just kind of
is that what it is? I thought it was like the people from. I always interpreted that they hacked that machine, and that's just part of the process to escape people. Is that because they don't. Is it a garbage chute? What they get shoved down?
Yeah,
in the first one, he falls like it's like a toilet that he's in. And
the Nebuchadnezzar comes and rescues him with the actual Morpheus. Yeah, so it's like he was throwing him away because he broke out of his thing. He woke up. So when they wake up, they dumped him.
Oh wow!
And then Morpheus saved him. But this time that didn't happen. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Derek.
No. I was just interpreted that they hacked the machine, so that made the machine do it to like cut him loose. But no, that makes sense. Wow, they really just pooped out the people. They woke up. That's crazy. Yeah. So, anyways, like to get back to this IO and stuff, and they realize that the humans in this world, it's not just a straight up humans and machines, or humans versus machines battle anymore, and that they don't even call themselves machines. That's not the appropriate term anymore. They call themselves Synthians. Is these new like machine things, which is kind of a funny thing. Another like. Like a socially acceptable term for machines. They don't like to be called a certain term anymore. That's a weird thing to add to the movie. But like, yeah, so you have these like android things that are helping out all the people. Like Scoria like fist bumps this little android at some point. Like they have a bond over the last like 60 years. And IO itself was created by this fusion, by like combining both forces together. And that like the machines realized that this overbearing tyrant machine matrix system is not the way to go, and they want free will for everybody, machines and humans included. So that's kind of Niobe's vision for humanity, and like she's less focused on like trying to bust people out and freeing people from the matrix, and more so just trying, like Bug says, just to grow strawberries and make this machine human world better in the real world. But like another weird thing with the machine like human friendship is that they actually have programs that are able to use this like nanobot drone swarm like black goo type thing to like form like almost an avatar in the real world, so that programs that wake up like Morpheus in the Matrix can come help out in the battle in like the real world, which is a creepy but kind of cool idea for the movie.
It is indeed. I'm showing off my Caffeinate Mars t-shirt. But yeah, I think that's the whole point here, is that we're in this bizarre circular matrix that is not only circular, bizarre, it's fragmented. I don't know.
It's not binary. It's in this case, it's not binary. It's not machines versus man, dark versus light. It's more complicated than, I don't know, friendships between man and machine.
Yeah, exactly. It takes on that, James?
Yeah, again, the whole that whole thing with having that colony, I thought it was interesting, but it's almost like, given current events, I thought it was very interesting that they were like, oh, machines can be our friends.
It's dark, yeah, for sure.
And just be like, we can trust them now because they tell us we can trust them.
It was like, I mean, one part of me was like, oh, that's cool, because I do love technology. But, I mean, still, you can't ignore, just the way they introduced it. Like, oh, this was nothing. This is the way it is now. There was no lead into it, really.
Yeah. Honestly, on one level, it's like a giant fuck you to conspiracy theorists. I mean, this this text that's colored the last like 30 years or 22 years, whatever, of this type of like discussion. It's like the ultimate humanity over machine movie, the ultimate techno dystopia movie, and they turned it into like, machine and man can be cool and live together and have a great life together, maybe it's not all bad, it's like that's going to be the conspiracy take for sure, like going forward. But also, like,
the biggest thing for that part to me. Yeah, no, that was it. That was just saying that was the biggest part to me. It was like, wow, they're really going through it. Oh no, they're not just going through that. They're pushing that all the way.
Yeah, I mean, for like, I see why. Like, to some extent, I do agree with it. My conspiracy mind is like, okay, that's clearly just machine robot propaganda. But the other side of me is like, well, obviously, it's going to be more complicated than just like humans versus machines, and it can't be that cut and dry, And that humans do use technology. That seems to be kind of what we do. So
yeah,
it's just how we use it. So I like the idea, and I've always said, like, if AI was to ever wake up like that, hopefully they wouldn't just destroy us all, because they would realize the potential of humanity and that all of our problems come from one small group of overbearing matrix creators. Yeah, exactly. The suits as the analyst calls them. You know what I mean? So like, hopefully there would be some type of thing where machine helps us someday take on our overlords.
Oh,
but as a conspiracy theorist, it's fucking scary for sure.
Yeah, I agree with all that. That's the thing. I'm not really mad at, like, I don't have a problem with the machines.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the people that control everything.
Exactly.
Messing with them, and then who knows, doing something that is so bad that the machines do turn against us. Who knows? That's the thing. But no, I do love technology, and I think it was a mixed thing. I liked it, but I also was just a little bit creepy in a way too.
A little bit creepy. All right, so let's cut to the chase. Neo wakes up in a pod. He sees Trinity likewise confined, and that's the thing, right? So he's picked up by some robot that scoops him out of there that was sent by bugs, right? So, and this is where we find out that some robots, some part of the Matrix, have teamed up with the humans that live in Io, and they're there in these... you guys know that thing where you put your hand into, like, the needles? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
That's what these robots are. They're like that. They're like this weird iteration of like a, two-legged, two-armed, two-eyed humanoid being, but in these like needles kind of pressing through in a hologram situation. They don't have like distinguishable features other than you clearly know they're like a robot, but it's like a hologram of a robot, right? So think about that fucking wildness. It's not even a robot. It's a hologram of a fucking robot. But now they're like in league with the people of Io. Okay, so then we'll cut to the chase. Now, this is the weird part. This is where shit starts going upside down. And so basically the thing is this. They were all this time, apparently, quote, 60 years later, they've been looking for Neo all the time, the real people of Io, because they thought he was a myth, right? Because he's dead, all the rest of this stuff. But they find him, all right? Through the beginning sequence, Bugs finds him. And I like the Bugs character. Again, like you said.
I like Bugs a lot.
Yeah, I thought she was great. But you said she was like the explainer. She's like, in a sense, kind of annoying because she's always the one trying to fill in the gaps. And it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. But okay, so anyway, so as Neo's scooped out of the Matrix himself, he's dropped into Io. He meets Niobe, but on his way out, he notices Trinity is actually in one of the pods near him. He sees her, and so he describes to them that she's there. And they don't believe him, kind of. They're just like, and Niobe's not into it. She's like, I don't want to do that, right? Because they've kind of settled into this truce, right? This truce with the Matrix and truce with, what would you say?
They like used all,
like a deal with the devil,
they like used
right?
all their, they like used all their resources. They like used, they every kind of like thing they had up their sleeve, they used to get Neo out. And they're like, if we go back in to get Trinity, it means like war with the machines, and we can't do that, basically.
Right. Yeah. So because they had set up that truce, that deal with the devil, and that they, instead of eating the gruel, remember, in the Matrix they were eating steak. Outside the Matrix they were eating like gruel. Now they had Io, which again is Zion. Fantastic take, James. Chopping off the masculine letters of the Z and the N of Zion, and it's now Io, and they're eating strawberries. They're allowed to grow through this truce. See, I'm picking up some shit it didn't make sense then. That's why we need to talk about
the Tiamat thing.
Sorry, babe. What's that?
It's the Tiamat thing again too.
Is it? Explain, please. Brief me.
The whole story of Tiamat is that Marduk split Tiamat in half and then created, and then the masculine and feminine were separated.
Yeah. Okay, so the same thing happened. So they lost the will to fight back, and they were given these petty luxuries as a result of them being pacified, right? By splitting that masculine and feminine energy. I never thought I'd say that. I just said,
Yeah, I know.
that's an inside joke to those who know. Jesus Christ. I just fucking...
It's true. It all comes back to that, It all comes back to it. Masculine and feminine.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But it's true, though. I mean,
We're not making fun of you, Bailey. It's completely separate. You're spot on.
Yeah.
I'm referencing something else. Inside joke. I'll explain after. I don't want to make it a public thing. But anyway,
we can pop all around, too. Like we're going plot by plot. We're never gonna get to the end. But, we want to just explain why they do that? Like, what the analyst's idea was behind keeping, because at first they ask, are you sure it's Trinity? Like, why the fuck would they keep her alive? Like, what's the point? What's the point of rebuilding you? Like, why make you again? And then why make your girlfriend again? What would that possibly do besides motivate you to rebel against us? So do you want me to explain why? Do you want me to spoil why they do it? Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why they do it is they use they're longing for each other. They're this twin flame connection they have for each other is what's fueling the entire Matrix. That instead of having the Matrix be just based on math and facts and trying to make exact replication of a real world, it's based on feelings and emotion and primarily pain and desire, and it's all idea based, and you're able to keep people docile by having it more malleable and all about feelings and stuff rather than a concrete system that can be broken down by weird anomalies, and then fueling it from pain and desire is a more luscious power source to these machines. It's almost again this Gnostic idea of these archons feeding on us. It's the whole idea of Loosh. It's that these feed us these traumatic things, make us want for things, make us have painful experiences, and this energetic trauma is what feeds these archons. These ones that are feeding on our reality. These I don't know. Yeah, crazy.
Which is interesting because in the original movies, the machines were very much against feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Anderson. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though, the original Smith did appear to develop his own kind of, hatred for Anderson. Overall, in general, the machines did not, they didn't focus on feelings.
Yeah.
And then in this, they do.
It's dark, honestly. It makes you think,
Exactly.
if we are living,
Yep.
if we are living in some simulated reality, if there is a demiurge, a creator of this realm we're in, people sometimes question, what's the evolutionary benefit of having feelings? Does it motivate us, or is it just a way for whatever is harvesting our energy, whatever rulers, the overlord of this reality, is it just a way for them to better harvest our energy? Are we a better food source when we're suffering than when we're just living a docile life?
Exactly.
It's a dark idea.
And notice, so there's a saying that goes like this, right? It's keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So basically, the Matrix learned that outside of the Matrix, if they extended a hand and said, look, you don't have to eat gruel, you can eat strawberries. We have our Matrix, you have your Io, which used to be Zion, where you fought back. Now, and again, Niobe has eaten that the fucking, what is it? The Garden of Eden.
Fruit.
It's the apple. It's the forbidden fruit. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
See? So I think we're in that same fucking cycle. And so we're inside and outside the Matrix. And so they have these, butler robots that are all amiable and happy to help them. But it's also they're there to placate them so they don't fucking fight back. And so,
Exactly.
Yeah, so we have this these cycles happening inside and outside the Matrix. Okay, so then it turns out that this guy, we're jumping all over the place, but we're assuming you've seen the movie, because otherwise you're not going to catch the plot.
Exactly,
because number one, it's so fucked from beginning to end. If you have, imagine if you've never seen the first three and you're listening to us right now, you're like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? So
like
you
the
have
movie,
to literally be.
The movie in itself is a plot dump. Like we couldn't possibly talk up the whole plot too.
Exactly. It's all broken. Okay, so it turns into this rescue attempt, all right? Because Neo's like, no, like we're not doing this. I've been here before. You broke me out once. I feel like I'm back again, and this is the same bullshit. I'm not doing it, right? But I'm going back to get Trinity. I saw her locked up in there. She's in a pod. I'm going back. And Niobe's like, nope, you're not doing that. We set up Io, which is Zion emasculated. Thanks, James. Shout out to you. And then on top of that, we have this sort of symbiosis with the machines now. They're looking after us, right? As long as we do what they say we should be doing, which is not fighting back. But Neo's like, no, why am I here? I'm not here. The only reason I'm here and you woke me up is to go get Trinity, and I'm going to get her. And so we enter Bugs. Bugs, the blue hair, young Asian. I like the character. I don't like the execution of the character itself, but I like Bugs. I like the actress. I like the idea. I thought it was fantastic. And yes, boom. So they roll like a heist. Now they come up with a heist to go get break Trinity out, to get Neo and Trinity back together. And well, how do we we don't have to end. I'm not in a hurry. Just to let you guys know, I can stay up all fucking night if necessary, but I respect your guys' time. So how do we wrap this up? It's a heist now. Neo's like with Bugs, and they're a renegade team to go get Trinity out.
Yeah. A couple cool things that for like new in this version of the Matrix is that they have moving portals. They can they don't need a phone booth anymore, and it's not that whole part of having to escape via phone booth isn't really the thing. They can hop onto trains and move through mirrors and stuff. Like the mirror actually becomes a portal, which is how many shows have we talked about the mirror portal aspect, James and stuff, which is cool. So we go on this adventure trying to save Trinity. There's one confusing part which I don't really understand. It's so that you need to give her the choice to wake up. So they're prepping. They need to steal her body before the analyst realizes what they're doing, because the entire Matrix is being fueled by having these two people belong for each other but not be able to ever actually meet. So they were going to just basically kind of wipe the whole thing to their own version of the Great Reset, start over again based on the old model of what they had. But so they knew as soon as they found out the machine's just going to come and just destroy whatever they're doing, just destroy Trinity instantly. So they need to take her body and separate her from the machine while still keeping her under in the Matrix somehow. And so in order to do that, there's this weird psychic surgery, machine surgery thing that they're trying to do, but they need to get Bugs plug in as her instead, which I don't really understand why they had to do that, because immediately as soon as she says yes, that's just over and they're all gone. I don't understand why Bugs needed to plug in at all. Maybe on a second viewing I'd be able to understand that. I don't know why Bugs had to plug in and become Trinity, other than to just have a weird scene where they're glitching in and out, becoming each other,
Yeah, I think again back to that COVID disjointed thing. It's unfortunate. I see a brilliant movie here, and it's just executed poorly. That's the problem. Yeah. But the thing is, okay, so they break her out, but they have to convince her inside the Matrix that she wants to leave the Matrix, because in the Matrix now her name's Tiffany. She's blonde. She has a husband who's good looking. She has a family. She's got kids. She's got what she wants.
Rides motorcycles, builds motorcycles.
Exactly.
She's living the dream.
Exactly, living the Trinity dream without even realizing she's Trinity. And that's part of what they did. So now here's the weird binary part we were talking about previously, in that back to that Philip K. Dick and him describing the divine programmer and the dark counterplayer. So not only do we have that in the sense that Agent Smith, which we've kind of left him out of this, even though
I know
he's kind of mute in this, isn't he? He's kind of just an antagonist to show up to say that Smith is still here. It seems to be
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. Exactly. He's like a side note, which is ridiculous. And by the way, let me ask you guys: did you like the Smith actor? I fucking hated him. I was like, why?
I didn't like him.
Couldn't you get? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I didn't like him either. Really. If you have, it's like unless I'm missing it, I don't know who this actor is. He might be a fan favorite or somebody from some show somewhere. But like, if you just have, you can pick anyone across the board. Like pick somebody better. You know. I don't know. Bring back. I don't know what was Hugo Weaving possibly doing. But like, yeah, still, I don't know why they did that. But he still comes in and kind of saves the day at the end too. Like he's the one who shoots the architect and all that kind of stuff. He comes in and forms. In order to beat the architect, Smith and Neo had to like team up, and he even says it's this like inconvenient partnership or whatever. That like it's this weird binary thing. It's like multiple wheels moving around. I don't know. It's because it's more than one binary thing happening between Neo and Trinity, between
exactly.
Smith and Neo, between the architect, like between the analyst and Neo, and like the Matrix and the analyst, machines and man. I don't know. It's so many binaries in the soup that it becomes non-binary, like, which I think is what the point is.
And it's amazing too. It's like I said, there's a lot of really fantastic elements. It just ends up kind of in like too much primordial soup, too much soup, not enough.
Exactly.
Not enough.
It's probably a good script.
Teeth.
Like,
yeah. Well, because it was probably like a 6-hour script.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It should have been 2 movies to do it right. It should have been 2 movies. There's too much crammed in my opinion. But okay, so they bust Trinity out. Now here's the craziest part. This is a spoiler that I wasn't going to say till the very end. I was so fucking mad because I was trying to avoid spoilers every chance I got, and on some fucking Google feed, right, I got a thing that said this, right, the fucking headline of the fucking thing.
Yeah. It
said, "How come Neo can't fly and Trinity can?" I was like, "Fuck! Yeah. Why?" Before I saw the movie, was the headline. Exactly. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Do I literally have to turn off every fucking device on the whole goddamn planet just to make sure I don't fucking get that? So, all right, somebody want to run through how this fucking rolls out? God, it was so fucking mad.
I'm convinced with that like these, if it's on Facebook, if it's on social media, that these like companies are aware that hate is equal to love when it comes to clicks, and they want everybody to be like, spoiler, hey, fuck you, get out of here, and like they want 1,000 hate comments, you know, like, why do you do that? How do you
engagement?
They want the engagement. They don't care where it comes from. They want people to tell them to go fuck themselves for the spoiler, you know.
There is one thing that we haven't mentioned yet that I thought was interesting about the ending sections there, about another character that worked with them all in the end that we haven't mentioned yet.
Oh yeah.
If y'all remember the
Sati?
Was the third movie, right? The little girl?
Yeah,
Sati.
Yes. And I think she was probably one of the best characters in this whole movie. Unfortunately, she was so limited in her role, but she was amazing in both spots, both the old movies and this one. I agree, she was fantastic, but it was a tiny role. But go ahead, James.
It was. That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Having her there.
Oh, for sure.
And again, reinforcing the idea that the machines are not, and the programs are not going to be all bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, because she was a sentient program that had broken away from the Matrix and helped Neo on the subway. If you remember that way back when, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So she was not an actual flesh and blood. She was in the Matrix in a program. Like, by the way, the Merovingian makes an appearance.
Yeah, the Exiles.
The Exiles, which is almost not worth noting because
it was so weird. Yeah. He was just they're all looking homeless, and he was just spouting out about like how mad he was about this new Matrix. He's like, you ruined, like, which is like, again, more commentary, like, you ruined the 1999 version of the Matrix, and now we got this 2021 version of the Matrix where it's all just Zuckerberg and all this bullshit and no originality, which is like,
he was saying those things.
True,
he was saying
these things. So it's like, which is true. Every single movie has to be a fucking reboot now, which is true. Like, back in '99, you got original stuff like the Matrix, Like, so I get that, but it's just the Merovingian was this badass, like, classy French character.
He was great, wasn't he? He was great.
Yeah, he was so cool.
Yeah,
and now he's like this homeless guy who's in there for 2 minutes. I don't know, Well, yeah,
and oddly enough,
Yeah, go ahead.
here's the weird part just on that is that he was screaming about like the reboots and all the bullshit you were just saying, and then oddly enough, this fucking movie is if you trimmed out 40% of this movie, it's an original movie. But because it's not, it's a fucking reboot. The same
Exactly.
bullshit.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
it's like they were making fun of themselves. They're like, well, we're here, so we may as well have him just fucking tell it like it is.
Yeah, that's the whole movie. That's like half the jokes are all just that, just like commentary, just meta, just being meta about themselves, you know. Which I get, which it would have been funnier if they, again, like Bailey said, if they paid it off more. Like it's funnier to make fun of having to come up with a new bullet time if you actually did it. It's not funny to do it if you don't actually do it. You know, it's like not funny to talk about how you're just rehashing old stuff if you don't come with something more original. You know, like we get it.
They kind of did bring in bullet time. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I mean they bring it slow motion. Like Neil Patrick Harris is in like slow motion and seeing a bullet move. But when they say bullet time,
that's the reason bullet time won't work anymore is because they can slow down whatever you're doing.
Yeah, but like when they say we need new bullet time, they don't mean like bullets to move in slow motion. They mean like the whole fighting style, the whole like changing of the way like fight scenes work. Like it was a paradigm shifting movie thing to do. That's what they mean by bullet time. So like just doing a deeper slow motion is not shifting any paradigms. It's not a cinematic marvel like the first one was, you know. Which is unfortunate. It's like that's what I was.
Yeah.
If I wanted one thing, I hope it was just a new genius idea, which is tough to expect. But there's a creative story, and I like the story part of it. But it's disappointing in a lot of big aspects.
Yeah, just the execution.
Like
the execution.
Like the things the things Matrix did so well, like all the boxes the original Matrix checked, like this one didn't check it. It's like I don't know. It was like Matrix like fan fiction almost. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. So Bailey, did you like it in the end?
I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wouldn't say it was great. You know, it was almost good. It was like
it was almost good. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I would probably watch it again just to see if I miss anything. But you know what really got me is I really didn't like how they like brought people from the Matrix into the real world, but like through holograms. Yeah. I thought that was a silly addition. Like either you're awake or you're not. You know. That was kind of weird. And
that was weird.
I don't know. I think some of the things they did it either just to be like, hey, look, we're in the Matrix world again, or to be like, oh, look, it's new, and not because it added to the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like having a whole part where like all the people from the Matrix were working together, like the whole Zion part didn't add anything to the movie, to be honest, like at all.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Other than the emasculated Zion, which is a brilliant addition there by James. I think that because right, that's what happened, and so it was like it was an infiltration by the machines to shut down Zion and create it into a keep your enemies closer situation. So clearly, like, so not only had the Matrix one inside the Matrix, which we'll get to as we finish this up, we're putting Neo and Trinity together, but not together. In close proximity, it's kind of like the positive and negative of a battery. If they're close to each other, you still get the same effect of people not trying to break out, which was what the new analyst Doogie Howser was saying. But then we also have the other situation where, so they figured out both ways how to control not only Zion, but how to control inside the Matrix with the anomaly of the one from the old movies. So they fixed both. And so the robots won in this one. Except because it never quite ends that way, does it? Because there's other iterations of the Matrix. But go ahead, Bailey. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. Other than what I just said.
I mean, I think those are cool details, but they aren't fundamental to the story. And like the emasculation thing is represented twice. It's represented in the Matrix by Neo and Trinity coming together, right? So it's kind of like the same thing happening on the other side, right? Like, it's kind of like an as above, as so below kind of thing, which is kind of cool. But But I feel like if you removed it, people would still get the same effect out of the movie. I mean, it probably is introducing it for the next movie, if I had to guess. Like, that would be my number one clue that there's another movie coming.
Yeah. I mean, it includes, if we're going really conspiracy, like the real world stuff is where all the pro-robot propaganda is coming from. The whole idea that humans and machines need to merge together to create the true utopia. That like it's not going to work. Like we're never going to create paradise if humans are by ourselves. We need machines like that. That's what we're trying to get across.
Right. So this is all a big psyop to sell Neuralink, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Plug in these crazy avatars you're meeting in the metaverse. Maybe one day you can bang them in real life because we can create these weird needle holograms that Mike was talking about. You know?
You're
it could be real one day.
You're into tentacle porn. One day you can have it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Jesus.
Just plug in, you'll get it. Yeah.
Plug in, you got it. Plug in, you got it. James. Final thoughts. Did you like this fucking movie, James?
I like some of the ideas. I do agree with the execution was, it didn't. There's definitely a lot there that I did not care for. So yeah, I'm not sad that I watched it, but I don't know how many more times I will watch it. Probably at least once, maybe at some point. But I mean, that's everyone's different, but that's I don't know. I'm glad that I did get to see it at least. At least I can say I've seen all of them now again.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about doing a thing like this where we get together. It's kind of like homework, right? But think about like homework when you were like 16 years old. It was like fucking miserable. But like, check this out. Our homework is we got to watch The Matrix. You know what I'm saying? Even if the movie sucked, and by and large, I'm gonna give it like a out of 10. I'm gonna give it like a 6. Right? Like, I get it. I feel it. I wish it was better. I would have done it differently, but again, I didn't have the same challenges because of the COVID break and all the rest of that. But still, we get to watch a movie and come together with our friends and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what better homework is that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Same. I'll probably give it a 7 if I'm being generous. It's the type of thing where I didn't love it. I'm disappointed by it, but like I love The Matrix so much. So I'm glad I have more of the world to explore, and like I'm definitely gonna watch it plenty more times. But like, while I understand the critiques, I'm probably like when I see them online, I pop up more against them, But also, like, if we're really trying to talk about it, I do have a shitload of complaints about it. Like, I think they dropped the ball a lot, and like blame COVID if you want to, but like I don't know, like this movie's been announced a long time ago. Like I figured they spent the time on it. I was disappointed. Hopefully the next one. I don't know, the story is the story is fine. And like while a lot of it I think is too convoluted because we didn't have Lawrence Fishburne and it made some like unnecessary things that they had to add to the movie. A big like it doesn't explain why the fights weren't better. Like I don't know. It just feel like they didn't put the time in and like I'm not sure.
I think I got the zinger to end it all, so I'm gonna wait till the end. So. You gotta say what you gotta say. We gotta mention that like we mentioned it earlier, whatever. But now there's kind of like 2 ones. Like Trinity also is kind of the one, or more so like the one is not just Neo. It's the combination of Trinity and Neo. That it's never been just Neo. Exactly.
Like it's been like their relationship is the one that's the one.
Exactly.
But also like Neo and Trinity aren't even human beings anymore. That was another really really weird thing. Is that like the one now. Like our saviors in the Matrix movie, like the humans versus machine movie, has been rebuilt by machines and is basically all machine now. Like on that scene where they're like reincarnating them or whatever, like resurrecting them. I guess they're using like biomechanics and like nanobots and stuff.
With their code, by the way, they keep describing their code, their base code, which is actually
their consciousness,
DNA in their consciousness. Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's not even them. They're not even humans anymore. So, which I think is why Neo doesn't have his powers. It's because he's like, I don't know. He's not fully the human Neo anymore. He's just like, I don't know. I don't know.
He's part of the duality of computer code. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
It's nuts.
I figured they get more into like quantum stuff. I figured that there'd be more of like a 2021 flavor to it, and less of like a 90s, because that like binary code, isn't that kind of out of date, Bailey? Like isn't quantum more like a complicated type of code?
They have as far as we know in the private sector, they haven't actually got quantum computers to fully work yet. They're still researching it, so binary is how your computers run.
Okay. Never mind.
Something I'm wondering is what y'all think the next one's going to be.
If they
Go ahead.
If they do one, I think they'll, like we said before, they're going to try to wake people up by having a really wild Matrix experience. They're going to spend less time in the real world and more time just Trinity and Neo, like they said, paint the sky rainbow and just create a lot of novelty in the simulation to try to wake people up like en masse that way. Oh, and another cool thing was the NPC thing. They brought in NPCs. Is that instead of using agents, instead of having to have specific agents running around, they have sleeper agents, basically just Manchurian candidates. They can wake up at any time and just create the swarm of robot zombies, basically, that people all around you could at any point either be NPCs or just be awakened, they talk about with Havana syndrome type stuff, that you can just be awakened and do crazy stuff. You mean?
There was one part that I thought was an interesting idea, and it's kind of dark in a way. So, that near the end, when Neo and Trinity were being chased, and they were on a motorcycle, and they were riding through the city, and they were being chased by all these zombies, basically. What about that part where people were basically being taken over within the buildings?
Yeah.
Along the sides of the street, and they were basically dive bombing.
Yeah, they're using the robots like bombs.
That's
crazy.
I thought
cool.
That was wild. It was.
Yeah, it's very World War Z for sure.
I did enjoy that little part there because it's that's literally using all of your, that's real in a way. Sounds funny, but it's realistic in a way. If you have those resources, and you think this is super important to stop these two targets.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting little touch.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things I did kind of like. Some of that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the idea that you can't trust the people around you because they might be robots in disguise. You don't know.
Always, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the conspiracy memes. It's they call it the Mr. Smith effect. Have you guys heard that?
No, but that's interesting.
And that okay, so in this, let's say that let's say you come up to why you can't talk about aliens at the water cooler because the coworker that you work with and you're even friends with for the most part, right? Because you can't really, actually be, friends if you work with, but your friendly coworker, let's say you're talking at the water cooler about aliens, and they turn into Mr. Smith. It's like they've been taken over by the Matrix to say, really, Mike? Come on, Mike. Yeah. Aliens aren't real. Are you and they literally shoot you down and don't even want to entertain the aspect that it could be a real thing. And that's called the Mr. Smith effect.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It even just the idea that the thing that was going around earlier this year about the dead internet theory, where most of the internet is populated by bots and everybody you're talking to is actually a bot and not really the internet. I mean, that's not really actual person on the other end, which is like Neo simulation. When you really see the swarm, it's holy shit, it's everybody. The whole city is populated by bots. It's not just regular people who aren't ready to take the red pill who are just ignoring you. It's just machines. It's just not real people. Creepy. Especially going into the metaverse. How many of these avatars are going to be real people?
Yeah, and metaphors on metaphors. How deep does this go? How deep does it go? Okay, so let's wrap this up. Yeah, me too. So I got a final thought, which is hilarious. It's a meta final thought because why the fuck not? We're talking about the Matrix. Bailey, anything else on the rest of this you want to add to the conversation?
There was one part that I think is really weird. I feel like they're going to try to phase out Neo completely in the next one. I think they're going to bring Bugs in as the new Neo.
Oh, wow.
Because at one point at the end, there's a point where I think she's in the Matrix or she's hacking or something, and they're I've seen this code before or something, and realized it was Neo's, and she goes, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. And
or something like that.
Yeah, and she had to plug in to like while they were trying to like unplug Trinity. They had to use her because
that's right.
like
as a surrogate to make sure she stayed alive in the transfer process, right?
Yeah, like they couldn't use Neo, and like the only other person whose brain function is at all like Neo is you, Bugs, or whatever. She's like, oh, obviously typical.
She knew it. She knew it. She was like, yeah, she knew. Yeah. She totally knew. Yeah. And that's how she found him. So again, the loops, right? The circles, that time is a flat circle, all the rest of that shit. It's like again, so many brilliant things built into this. If you think about it, you talk about it like this, but Jesus Christ, the execution. Fuck. They need to talk to us next time, guys. We need to be the screeners and fucking throw popcorn to the screen and rage and say, no, no, no. No, no, no.
Honestly, if they gave me one good Matrix quality fight scene, I would have left with a much better taste. Like, I can't tell you how disappointed I was that we got like CW level fight. Like, we got like TV show level fights. Like, I'm very disappointed in that. You know, if they was give me one, I would have been all right. Mission accomplished a little bit.
I think they couldn't do fight scenes because of COVID. Is my bet. Because who does the Matrix without a lobby scene?
Yeah.
You can figure.
Who does it?
You can figure some shit out. Also that, and also if they'd have
for only $200 million though.
Exactly. $200 million fucking dollars. Are you fucking kidding me? Like you got to be able to do this shit. Like, come on now. You give me $2.5 million. I promise you, I will fucking concoct a goddamn fight scene, and it will be fucking epic as fuck. And I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I will fucking figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
You hear that, Bezos? Give us the money. We'll do it.
Give us the money. Derek and I will fucking be like blah 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 blah, flipping and shitting. We'll have harnesses on, and I'll fucking erase all it. I'm just saying, Jesus Christ, please. All right. So I got a final thought here, but before I do the final thought, which is the meta of the metas, and I'm sorry to slam dunk on this movie. Anybody else? James, your final thought on this movie, my man?
Lots of interesting ideas, great ideas. And just like you said, though, the execution was not good. I definitely agree. It was definitely more of a middle of the road movie for me. Yeah. But interesting ideas, and so I hope that if they do a sequel, I hope that they're able to do better.
Do better. Bailey, final thoughts here.
I don't even have any. I just whatever.
Sometimes you're like,
I agree with James.
Do better. Do better works. Derek, go ahead, and I got to slam dunk get out of here.
Yeah. So if we had to divide into two teams, like anti this movie or pro this movie, I would join the pro team. While I'm extremely disappointed, but I've also been I've been on the pro Matrix 3 for the last 15 years too. So I'm happy to add this to the. It's not as bad as you think. There's some good stuff in it. Camp, but I don't know. There's parts that I hope in the next one they make best. They make good on what they didn't deliver in this one. And there's a lot of cool story ideas, and there's a lot of cool stuff that could happen. I hope we see more.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I do think that related to what you're saying, I do think it's possible the next one comes out and it all clicks, and then this one makes sense more now. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, same here. Give us some, kick the can down the road and blow our minds 5 years from now. I'd be happy with that. Yeah, and we go back and watch the shit out of this one and be like, oh, it all makes sense.
I know. But the story isn't even the worst part to me. Again, it's just the fight scenes and even just the cinematography is different. It just didn't look as good. I don't know. There's just movie elements that weren't as good. Even beyond the story. I'm sure the story on paper makes a lot of sense and where they're going with it. We can even just during this conversation, there's a lot of oh yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing moments. But just execution wise, as far as just making a movie goes, I don't think they did what they should have done. But yeah, C+.
Yeah, exactly. I agree, 100%. In that realm, but they've sort of pointed it in a new direction, possibly. So I like the Bugs take. I like all the rest of this. I like to do it. Interestingly, again, it goes back. Look, if you guys were like, I really love The Matrix, but I really hate this movie, go back and watch the Troubled Mind show. Holy fuck, we slayed that shit. We slayed the fuck out of that, and it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you guys, David for pointing it out, and Philip K. Dick for saying all the same shit we were talking about tonight. And as we end this, check this out. This is wild. Now, this is the craziest part, right? We're talking about creation, and we're talking about the duality of creation, right? And back to that Philip K. Dick, he talked about a divine programmer and a dark counterplayer. And like when Daryl called in and we were talking about that, I said, Daryl, create your own utopia, right? And she was like, sure, go in your mind. But your utopia is everybody else's dystopia, right? Yeah. Because it's only yours. And so you have to have somebody you trust on the opposite side to say, no, 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 no. That's not utopia. You have to compromise, right? Yeah. To create something beautiful and wonderful that everybody appreciates. And that's the duality of creation. Now, here's the craziest part. As we finish this, and this is the thought that entered my mind as we got to the last half of this, we have twins that created this Matrix. And this movie by itself was created by one twin, not two.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
You want meta? Fucking slam dunk. She wants her sister back, and that's it.
Oh, she's definitely coming back. That's what's going to happen.
Fucking right.
Oh, she's definitely coming back.
And it will be better than this one. And this is what I'm
wow.
saying.
Good call. Good call. Good
Right?
call.
Nice. So
wow.
And so weirdness is that so their parents recently passed away. If you guys didn't know this, I was reading up in the little bit of why this thing came back. One of the twins wanted a closure because both parents and a close friend died within a span of like 2.5 years, something like that. Oh. And the one person that made this movie this time said that they wanted closure and that Neo and Trinity felt like mother and father, right? However, they did it without their twin. And so the twin is clearly what made the thing beautiful before. Duality of creation, guys. There it is. There it is. There's your meta to the 10th level. Why the fuck not? Trouble Mind style. We ain't thinking in 2-3 or 3D or 4D or 5D. Let's talk 10D and get the fuck out of here. You guys are the best. We're here with James Salsido Paranormal. Check him out. Links in the description below. We're here with Nightstocker. Inspire him. He's got a YouTube channel with a trailer, and he's a brilliant dude, and he's got the hottest upcoming podcast and YouTube channel ever. Follow him. Link in the description. We're here with Bailey. Bailey's got some music. Bailey, why don't you tell us about your music?
I have music. It's on Spotify and everything.
Where can we find your music? Send me the link, Bailey. I'll add it to the links below. Pretty please. Is there anything else you want to promote? Love to help. Love to help. Send me what you want to promote and talk about it in this moment. You're on the spot. Go.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm working on a new album. My last album came out last year, and just excited about the new one.
Nice. Okay. Perfect. So, okay, this is the thing. Bailey, give me permission to use your music, and I'll start doing that. David sent me some his CD of his music. This is the thing, right? If we can like build a whole new thing with you're all's like. I used to do that for Todd, and then Todd showed up and was a dick every night, and then so I peeled his music out. So send me your music, and I'll play it in the show. And then don't be a dick.
If you want some kind of style.
Yeah, whatever. Like basically the thing is like aim for about like 30 seconds to a minute things, and then we'll right, and then we'll do like too long is not good because it's radio formatic and et cetera, so on. But yeah, send it to me. So I'm gonna link Bailey's album down below in the description. Check it out. Bailey, Derek, James, you guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Mike. That was fun. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, fucking right. Thanks for
and anyone in the audience.
And thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing up. Right?
For anyone watching or listening, please throw out suggestions for like future ones of these we should do. Future, I don't know. These are fun, but we should do it more often than just Midnight Mass and Matrix,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like we could peel one in every other week if you guys are into it. So I'm watching the shit out of SG1. So is
SG1. Yeah, I'm cranking through it right now. Yeah.
What season you on? I'm like halfway through season.
I'm about to finish 2, but I watched 2 in like 3 days, so I'm cooking with gas right now.
Okay, yeah. So it's SG1. Hot. We could do season 1, season 2. We could burn through that. Yeah. So basically, this is the thing. And by the way, all of you guys are invited. Meeps Music says up in the chat, let's see, Troubled Minds, I'd like to come on your panel one night. It would have to be a subject like this. Well, that's why we do this. That's exactly why we do this. We're like, hey, who's seen this? And if you want to be part of this, just troubledmindsradio@gmail. Join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Type it in the chat. Come find me. I'm not hiding. I'm not afraid. Come find me, and you can be part of this. Everybody's invited. I've always said this, and that's the whole point. You don't have to be Linda Moulton Howe to be on this show. You just have to be you. You just have to be you. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Pleasure's mine. Yep. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for doing your homework, and thanks for being here. Always a pleasure. Like I said, imagine if this was a shitty movie and you just kind of stomached it by yourself and you're like, ugh. But we got to talk about it amongst friends. And it's in itself is a little bit of therapy, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There you go. All right. I'm going to play some music just to outro this MFer, but you guys can say whatever you got to say. I'm gonna outro, extro you, whatever the fuck I'm going to extract you from the Matrix, whatever you want to call it, and we'll do it J style. Bailey, anything else? I'm playing some music.
If you can extract me from the Matrix, that would be great.
I'm doing my best. My friend, I'm doing my best. I don't know if I have that technology yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
Real. Here's that word again. Real. What is real?
Real. All right, so we got all kinds of shit coming up. I'm watching The Witcher. Anybody watching The Witcher?
I'm going to start that tonight. I almost started it earlier today, but I'm like, I got to watch The Matrix
But
again.
you had homework to do, didn't you?
I had homework.
I've seen a couple of The Witcher, and it's good. It's
Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up on Netflix. It was pretty fun. It was about asteroids and stuff, too, or comets.
Oh, did you watch that one? Was it good?
It was good, yeah. You should watch it, yeah. If it wasn't so close to The Matrix, I'd say we should do that one, but definitely predictive program when it comes to asteroid apocalypses.
Like I keep saying, it feels like they're setting us up for some shit. Yeah,
something's coming. I know.
Yeah, Penny, watch The Witcher. If you guys haven't watched The Witcher on Netflix, watch the fuck out of The Witcher. It is literally like all the things you didn't want to be. It is the things you wanted to be. Watch The Witcher. What did I just say? I don't even fucking know.
Watch The Witcher.
other than watch The Witcher, that's what I'm saying. All right, we're getting the fuck out of here. One more time. We're here with James Salsido Paranormal. Link in the description. We're here with Derek the Nightstocker. Link in the description. We're here with Bailey. Link in the description. Follow these folks. Let them know. Let them know that you love them and you want more of this type of stuff. And by the way, you're invited. You guys are invited. I'm not kidding you, right? It doesn't have to be us. Derek and James, they're being gracious about their time and being here each time. The next time they said they'll sit one out and listen to what we have to say. The other people. So you guys are invited. So if you want to be part of this, contact me. troubledmindsradio@gmail. I'm just me. You're just you. But you get it. Together we're us. It turns into an amazing thing. Thank you so much to all you guys for being here tonight. Thanks for spending your time with us. I'm always honored and blessed by that. And I really mean that. You have no idea. Otherwise, I'd be mumbling to myself in the fucking corner, and you know how depressing that is. It's not good. It's not good, I'll tell you that. But here we go. Let's get the F out of here. Thank you so much. Go ahead, guys. We got about a minute left. If you want to howl 2 minutes left, I don't know. Whatever the fuck you want. Roll it.
I'm actually going to wake up the wolves. I swear, when you guys howl, sometimes I'm home, wolves howl in real life. Like
They hear it, right? They hear Jay from New York. And they start howling. He calls it a wet chihuahua, but the fact is, it's a wolf stoker.
Federal howl.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mike. That was fun.
Thank you, bro.
Yes,
James.
thank you.
James.
Thank you.
Give us some sauce, man. Get some teasers. What's 2022 bring?
Great to be here and great to see all the chat.
Ooh. There we go. There we go. All right. Pleasure, guys. Pleasure's mine. I'm blessed. Thank you so much for being part of this and spending your time. That's the most important thing. Be well, take care of yourself so you can take care of others. We'll talk to you soon. More Troubled Minds tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you then. Have a fantastic one.